Introduction: the forgotten frequency. Stop. Right now, in this exact moment, something inside you is dying. And something else is being born. 7 million cells just left your body. 7 million more took their place. You are not who you were when you began reading this sentence. You are being rebuilt, atom by atom, breath by breath, in a silent revolution happening beneath your skin. But here's what they never told you. You are the architect of that revolution. For too long, you've been handed a script. Aging is inevitable. Disease is genetic. Decay is unavoidable. Your body is a ticking clock, winding down with each passing year, helpless against time's relentless march. That script is a lie. Deep in the quantum fabric of your cells, there exists a code. Older than medicine, older than words, older than the pyramids that tried to capture it in stone. The ancients knew it. They guarded it. They whispered it through symbols, through breath, through rituals that modern minds dismissed as superstition. But what if they weren't wrong? What if they simply saw what we forgot to look for? Your DNA is not a prison sentence. It's a library of infinite possibility, waiting for you to choose which book to open. Your cells don't decay because they must. They decay because they're following instructions you didn't know you were giving. Every thought is a command. Every emotion, a chemical signature. Every breath, a vote for life or surrender. Somewhere along the way, you learn to believe in your limitations more than your potential. You learn to trust pills more than presence. To seek answers outside when the most profound intelligence in the universe is humming quietly inside your own bones. This audiobook is not a gentle suggestion. It's a disruption, a challenge, an invitation to remember what your body has been screaming at you in whispers you've learned to ignore. You will not find quick fixes here. No magic bullets. No shortcuts. What you will find is something far more powerful, the truth about what you are. Not a collection of organs held together by hope. Not a machine destined to break down. But a living, breathing, self-renewing quantum field, capable of healing, regenerating, and defying every limitation you've been taught to accept. The ancient mystics called it the eternal body. Scientists are now calling it epigenetics, quantum biology, cellular coherence. The name doesn't matter. What matters is this: you are not here by accident. You were called to this moment because some part of you, some deep, unkillable spark, refuses to believe the story you've been sold. That spark is right, and it's about to ignite. Over the next hours, you will learn how geometry shapes your cells. How light feeds your mitochondria. How silence rewires your brain. How breath becomes medicine. How your skeleton generates electricity. How water remembers. But more than knowledge, you will receive activation. Each word is a frequency. Each chapter, a key. Not to open doors outside you, but to unlock what's been sealed within. So I ask you now, not as a listener but as a co-creator of what comes next. Are you ready to stop aging like you were taught, and start living like you were designed? The code is waiting. Your cells are listening. Let's begin. Chapter 1. The Hidden Geometry of Life. There is a secret written in spirals. In the curve of your spine. In the whirl of your fingertip. In the chambers of your heart. A language older than words, more precise than thought. This language does not argue. It does not need proof. It simply builds. Everything. Including you. Long before you took your first breath, before your mother knew your name, your body was being drawn by an invisible hand. Not randomly. Not by chance. But according to laws so ancient they existed before the first star ignited. The golden ratio. The Fibonacci sequence. The spiral that appears in galaxies and seashells alike. This is not poetry. This is engineering at the level of God. 1.618. That number hums through your bones. It determines the distance between your joints, the spiral of your inner ear, the branching of your lungs. Every organ you carry was sculpted by mathematical perfection. And when that perfection is disturbed, when the geometry breaks, so does the body. Disease is not invasion. It is distortion. A forgetting of the original blueprint. The ancients understood this without microscopes or equations. They built temples in spirals. Walked labyrinths to restore balance. carved mandalas into stone because they knew that form shapes function. That sacred geometry is not decoration. It is instruction, a reminder to the body of what it was always meant to be. Your DNA does not coil randomly. It spirals in the exact proportion found in nautilus shells and hurricane clouds. Your heart does not beat in chaos. It pulses in rhythm with the golden mean, expanding and contracting in ratios that mirror the cosmos. Even your cells divide according to Fibonacci. 1 becomes 2. 2 become 3. 3 become 5. This is not coincidence. This is code. Walk into a forest. Watch how branches grow, how leaves spiral up a stem, how petals unfold in perfect mathematical order. You are seeing your own body reflected back. The same intelligence that organizes nature organizes you. When you align with that intelligence, repair accelerates. Inflammation drops. Energy returns. Not because you added something new, but because you remembered something old. The spiral is the shape of growth, of expansion without destruction, of movement that returns to center while reaching outward. Your spine curves this way. Your cochlea spirals inward. Even your thoughts, when healthy, move in spirals, circling back to truth, deepening with each pass. Linear thinking breaks. Spiral thinking heals. There are healing traditions where sick people walk labyrinths in silence. Not to pray, not to meditate, but to realign. Each step a return to symmetry. Each turn a recalibration of the nervous system. The body does not need to understand why. It only needs to feel the pattern. And when it does, something ancient wakes up. Something that remembers wholeness. Close your eyes. Place your hand on your chest. Imagine a golden spiral turning slowly beneath your palm. Not metaphor, fact. Blood moves in spirals through your vessels. Cerebrospinal fluid flows in spirals around your brain. Even your thoughts create spiral patterns in neural firing. You are not a machine of straight lines. You are a living vortex of sacred geometry. When you see beauty, your pupils dilate in the golden ratio. When you hear music that moves you, your heart rate variability shifts into harmonic spirals. Your body does not respond to beauty randomly. It responds because beauty is geometry. And geometry is the language your cells have always spoken. So if you want to heal, do not fight your biology. Honor its design. Move in spirals. Dance in circles. Stretch in curves. Let your breath spiral down into your belly and back up through your crown. Stop trying to force yourself into straight lines. You were never meant to be rigid. You were meant to flow in patterns older than mountains. The pyramid does not age because its geometry is perfect. The spiral galaxy does not collapse because its form follows law. And you, built by the same architect, do not have to decay either. Not if you remember. Not if you return to the mathematics written in your marrow. The code is not hidden. It has been singing through you since before you were born. You only forgot how to listen. Chapter 2, Quantum Fields and Cellular Whispering. Your body is not solid. It never was. What you call flesh is mostly space. And in that space, something extraordinary is happening. Something so fast, so subtle, that you have lived your entire life unaware of it. Your cells are not waiting for chemicals to arrive through blood. They are speaking in light. Communicating in frequencies. Responding to fields you cannot see but cannot escape. Every thought you think generates an electromagnetic pulse. Every emotion you feel shifts the charge of your cells. You are not a body that has energy. You are energy that has taken the shape of a body. And energy does not move slowly. It does not wait for permission. It shifts instantly. Across distances. Through barriers. In ways that make no sense to logic but perfect sense to physics. This is not spiritual theory. This is quantum biology. Scientists have measured it. Photons, tiny packets of light, bounce between your cells faster than nerve signals. They carry information, instructions, warnings, invitations to heal or collapse. And they do it without needing blood vessels or neurons. The field does the work. The space between your cells is alive with conversation. When you think a thought of fear, every cell in your body receives that signal within milliseconds. Not because adrenaline flooded your veins. That comes later. The field hears you first. And it responds. Inflammation begins not in your tissues but in the electromagnetic whisper that tells your cells danger is near. This is why trauma can age you overnight. Why stress can break you without ever touching your skin. The field collapses. And the body follows. But here is what they do not tell you. The reverse is also true. When you shift your field, your biology shifts with it. Not eventually. Immediately. Think of coherence and your heart rate variability smooths within seconds. Visualize healing and blood flow redirects to the area you focus on. This is not placebo. This is quantum communication. Your cells do not wait for proof. They respond to signal. The mystics knew this. That is why they chanted. Why they hummed. Why they sat in silence until the field around them became palpable. They were not praying to something far away. They were tuning the space between their cells, reorganizing the invisible into harmony. And when the field harmonized, the flesh followed. Wounds closed. Pain vanished. Not by force. By resonance. You are not a machine that breaks and needs fixing. You are a field that falls out of tune and needs recalibration. The difference is everything. Machines need mechanics. Fields need frequency. And you control your frequency with every breath, every word, every focus of attention. This is power most people never touch. Because they are still thinking in chemicals. Still waiting for something outside to save them. But your cells are not outside. They are in the field. And the field responds to one thing above all else. Intention. Not wishful thinking. Not desperate hope. But clear, steady, certain intention. The kind that does not beg. The kind that commands. Not from ego. From alignment. From the part of you that knows what you are made of. Think of your body as a constellation of stars. Each cell a point of light. And between them, golden threads of energy, pulsing, connecting, communicating. This is not visualization. This is what is actually happening. Your cells emit biophotons. Weak light. But light nonetheless. And that light carries meaning. When the light is coherent, you heal. When it scatters, you decay. You have felt this. The glow after deep meditation. The lightness after laughter. The warmth of being truly seen by another. That is not emotion. That is your field reorganizing into coherence. And in that coherence, miracles become mundane. Because they were never miracles. They were always physics. You just did not have the language for it. So stop asking what you should take. Start asking what you should become. Stop searching for the cure outside. Start broadcasting the signal inside. Because your cells are listening. Not to your words. To your field. And your field is shaped by what you believe you are. Flesh that decays. Or light that renews. The choice rewrites your biology in real time. Every single moment. The ancients wrote it in riddles. The body does not wait for the hand. It waits for the song. They were not being poetic. They were being precise. Sound is frequency. Frequency shapes fields. Fields shape cells. You are not separate from the process. You are the process. And the moment you align your field with the frequency of life itself, the whispering begins. Not from outside, from within. And the cells, ever faithful, respond with one word. Yes. Chapter 3. Coherence when the orchestra plays in tune. Imagine an orchestra where every musician plays a different song. The violinist in one key. The drummer in another tempo. The flutist ignoring the conductor entirely. That is not music. That is noise. And noise does not create. It destroys. Your body knows this. Because your body is an orchestra. And when it falls out of tune, everything breaks. Most people live in dissonance without knowing it. Heart saying one thing. Breath doing another. Mind racing ahead while the gut clenches in fear. This is not just stress. This is incoherence. A scattering of signals so chaotic that the body cannot tell which instruction to follow. So it follows all of them. Poorly. And you call it aging. You call it disease. You call it normal. But it is not normal. It is a malfunction of rhythm. A loss of synchronization. And the moment you restore the rhythm, the body remembers how to heal. Not slowly. Instantly. Because coherence is not built. It is chosen. One breath at a time. one heartbeat at a time. One decision to stop the noise and return to the beat. Scientists can measure this. They call it heart rate variability. When your heartbeat becomes smooth, rhythmic, wave-like, everything else follows. Brain waves sync. Hormones balance. Immune cells communicate clearly. You become efficient at the cellular level. Not because you ate something magical. Because you tuned the conductor. And the conductor is your heart. Your heart does not just pump blood. It generates the strongest electromagnetic field in your body. 5,000 times stronger than your brain. And that field extends beyond your skin. 3 feet in every direction. You are walking around in an invisible sphere of energy that touches everyone near you. And they feel it. Even when they do not know why. When your heart is in coherence, that field becomes organized. Stable. And it pulls everything else into alignment. Your nervous system relaxes. Your digestion improves. Your thoughts clear. Not because you tried harder. Because the orchestra found its rhythm. And once the rhythm returns, the music plays itself. This is why presence heals. Why being near certain people calms you. Why some rooms feel heavy and others feel light. You are not imagining it. You are sensing coherence or the lack of it. And your body, wise beyond your mind, responds before you even realize it. There is a breathing pattern passed down by ancient healers. Inhale for 5 counts. Exhale for 5 counts. No force. No strain. Just rhythm. Do this for 3 minutes and your entire system begins to organize. The heart steadies. The brain follows. And suddenly, the chaos that felt permanent dissolves into clarity. Not because breathing is magic. Because rhythm is law. And law restores order. You were not designed to live in fight or flight. That state is for emergencies. Brief. Intense. Then over. But modern life has made the emergency permanent. And your body, faithful servant, stays braced for a threat that never ends. Until coherence is lost. Until the orchestra forgets how to listen to the conductor. And the music becomes noise. But here is the truth they do not teach. You can choose coherence in any moment. It does not require a retreat. Or a guru. Or 10 years of practice. It requires one conscious breath. One deliberate softening. One return to rhythm. And the body, brilliant and obedient, will follow. Because it wants to be in tune. It longs for it. Chaos exhausts. Coherence restores. There is a story from the old healers. A child lay dying. The doctors had no answers. So the village gathered. And they drummed. Not with force. With precision. A steady, rhythmic pulse. And slowly, the child's heartbeat began to match the drum. The fever broke. The breathing eased. The child lived. Not by medicine. By entrainment. By the law that says rhythm organizes. And organization is life. You do not need a drum. You need your breath. You need your heartbeat. You need the willingness to stop and listen. To feel the pulse beneath the panic. To trust that the body knows the song even when the mind has forgotten it. This is not faith. This is biology. When the orchestra plays in tune, miracles are not needed. Because the music itself is the miracle. Chapter 4, Telomere Timekeepers. At the end of every chromosome, there is a cap. A protective sequence. Delicate. Finite. Counting down with every cell division. These are your telomeres. And they do not measure age. They measure pressure. Stress. How hard you have pushed. How little you have rested. They are not clocks. They are witnesses. And what they witness becomes your fate. Each time a cell divides, the telomere shortens. Just a little. A biological tick. And when it shortens too much, the cell stops. It cannot replicate. It either dies or becomes senescent. A zombie cell. Still there but no longer functioning. Taking up space. Leaking inflammation. This is aging at the molecular level. Not time passing. Threads fraying. But here is the secret. Telomeres do not shorten at the same rate for everyone. 2 people the same age can have vastly different telomere lengths. One with the cells of a 30-year-old. The other with the cells of someone 70. The difference is not genetics. It is how they lived. What they believed. How they breathed. Whether they chose peace or panic. Studies have proven it. Meditation lengthens telomeres. Chronic stress shortens them. Not metaphorically, measurably. The length of your telomeres right now is a record of every thought you have fed yourself. Every emotion you have marinated in. Every moment you chose either coherence or chaos. Your cells keep score, and they show it at the molecular level. This is not about blame. It is about power. Because if stress shortens telomeres, then peace lengthens them. If fear frays the thread, then trust can restore it. You are not a victim of time. You are the author of your cellular biography. And every choice you make edits the story in real time. There was a woman who lived to 109. When asked her secret, she said something strange. I never hurry in here. And she touched her chest. She did not say she ate well. Or exercised daily. She said she never rushed her heart. Because she understood, consciously or not, that urgency is poison. That internal pressure ages faster than time ever could. Your telomeres do not care how many years you have been alive. They care how many years you have been at war with yourself. How often you held your breath. How deeply you clenched. How rarely you let go. Every contraction leaves a mark. Every softening gives space. And in that space, repair becomes possible. Think of your telomeres as wicks on candles. If you burn them in a storm, wind whipping, flame wild, they shorten fast. But if you burn them in stillness, steady and calm, they last. The candle does not care how long it has been lit. It cares how it has been tended. And you are both the candle and the keeper of the flame. This is why forgiveness matters. Why releasing old wounds is not just emotional hygiene but biological necessity. Because unresolved anger sits in your cells like acid. It corrodes the threads. It signals danger even when there is none. And your telomeres, faithful timekeepers, record every moment of that invisible war. But the reverse is also true. Gratitude extends them. Laughter extends them. Connection extends them. Not because these things are pleasant. Because they signal safety. And safety is the only condition under which the body agrees to invest in the future. To keep building. To keep repairing. To keep the thread intact. There are tribes in the Amazon who say every person has a golden thread that only the soul can see. When it is cared for, it glows. When neglected, it dims. And when someone begins to fade, the whole village gathers to sing the thread back to brightness. They do not see this as metaphor. They see it as truth. And perhaps they are closer to science than they know. You do not need to understand telomerase, the enzyme that repairs telomeres. You only need to understand this. Your body will protect what it believes has a future. And if you live like there is no future, rushing, stressing, never resting, your body will not invest in repair. It will let the threads fray. Because why maintain a house you are about to abandon? But if you live like you matter, like there is purpose ahead, like your presence is needed, then the body hears that. And it responds. Not with miracles, with maintenance, with the slow, faithful work of keeping the thread intact. Because the body is not your enemy. It is your most loyal ally. And it will fight for you. If you stop fighting against it. So breathe. Slowly. Deeply. Like someone who has time. Let your shoulders drop. Let your jaw unclench. Whisper to the cells that keep score. There is no rush. We are safe here. And watch how something inside begins to lengthen. Not the years of your life. But the life in your years. And that is the only measurement that ever mattered. Chapter 5, The Epigenetic Light Switch. You were told you inherited fate. That the diseases your grandmother carried would find you too. That your DNA is a locked vault written in stone before you took your first breath. But what if I told you that story is a lie? Not a small lie. A foundational one. One that has kept you small, kept you waiting, kept you believing that your biology belongs to the past instead of the present. Your genes are not your destiny. They are your potential. A library of possibilities waiting for you to choose which book to open. And the one choosing is not chance. It is you. Every single day. With every breath, every thought, every meal, every moment of peace or panic. You are flipping switches. Turning genes on or off. Activating blueprints of decay or blueprints of renewal. This is epigenetics. And it changes everything. The word itself means above the genes. Beyond them. More powerful than them. Because while your DNA sequence is fixed, the expression of that DNA is fluid. Changeable. Responsive. Your cells are not blindly following orders written at birth. They are listening to signals from your environment, your emotions, your choices. And those signals decide which genes get read and which stay silent. Think of it this way. You have genes for inflammation and genes for repair. Genes that accelerate aging and genes that slow it down. Genes that make you vulnerable and genes that make you resilient. All of them are there. All of them waiting. But which ones get activated depends entirely on the life you live. The story you tell yourself. The field you create around your cells. This is not theory. This is documented science. Studies on identical twins show that even with the same DNA, their health outcomes diverge dramatically based on lifestyle, stress, belief, environment. One twin develops disease. The other does not. Same genes. Different expression. Same code. Different execution. The difference is not genetics. It is epigenetics. And epigenetics is under your control. Monks who meditate for years show gene expressions identical to people decades younger. Their telomeres lengthen. Their inflammatory markers drop. Their cells behave as though time is moving slower. Not because they have special DNA, but because they have aligned their inner environment with peace, rhythm, presence. And their genes responded. Not eventually. Immediately. Every session. Every breath. Every moment of coherence rewrites the script. Food is not just fuel. It is information. When you eat processed sugar, you activate inflammatory pathways. When you eat phytonutrients from plants, you activate repair enzymes. When you fast, you trigger autophagy genes that clean and renew. Your fork is a pen. Every bite is a sentence in the story your cells are writing. And that story becomes your flesh, your mood, your future. Even the way you move sends signals. Sedentary life activates genes of atrophy. Movement activates genes of strength and longevity. Not because exercise is good for you in some vague way, but because motion is a molecular instruction. It tells your DNA we are still in the game. We are still needed. We are still alive. And your genes respond by building instead of breaking down. Your emotions are chemical broadcasts. When you dwell in gratitude, you activate anti-inflammatory genes. When you marinate in resentment, you activate stress response genes that age you faster than time itself. This is why forgiveness is not just spiritual. It is biological. Letting go does not just free your mind. It frees your cells from a loop of destruction they were never meant to stay in. There was a boy in the Himalayas told he carried a genetic curse. But he did not speak the language of the doctors. So he never believed it. He lived simply, breathed deeply, walked the mountains, laughed with the sky, and the disease never came. Not because his genes were different, but because the switch was never flipped. Belief itself is epigenetic. What you accept as true becomes the instruction your body follows. You can begin this moment. Not tomorrow. Now. Sit up. Breathe slowly. Speak kindly to yourself. Not as affirmation but as command. I am renewing. I am aligned. I am light. These are not wishes. They are frequencies. And your DNA hears frequency before it hears logic. It responds to resonance, to certainty, to the field you generate with your presence. Your ancestors gave you the code. But you hold the switch. The light is not far. It is in your hand. And every moment you choose coherence over chaos, love over fear, presence over panic, you are flipping that switch. You are turning on the genes of life and turning off the genes of decay. This is not hopeful thinking. This is quantum biology. This is the power you were born with but never told you had. So stop waiting for permission. Stop believing you are bound by bloodlines. You carry the pen. You write the story. And the cells, ever faithful, ever responsive, will obey. Not because you forced them, but because you finally remembered you were always the author. And the light switch was always in your hand. Chapter 6. Mitochondrial sparks of youth. Inside every cell you carry, there burns a fire. Not symbolic. Not metaphorical. Real. A living flame passed down through your mother, and her mother, and her mother before that. A lineage of light stretching back to the first breath ever taken on this planet. These fires are your mitochondria. And they do not just keep you alive. They keep you young. When they dim, you age. When they blaze, you regenerate. And you control the oxygen. Most people walk through life with dying embers. Tired, foggy, heavy. They think it is age. They think it is stress. They think it is just how life feels after 30, 40, 50. But it is not age. It is mitochondrial decline, a slow suffocation of the inner flames. And it happens not because time is cruel, but because modern life starves the fire of what it needs most. Light, movement, breath, cold, challenge. The very things we have engineered out of existence. Your mitochondria were once independent organisms. Billions of years ago, they were bacteria floating free in the primordial sea. Until one day, they made a deal with your ancestors. Let us live inside you, they said, and we will give you power beyond measure. We will turn food into energy. We will give you fire. And that alliance holds to this day. But like any partnership, it requires care, respect, attention. When forgotten, the fire fades. When honored, it roars. Energy is not something you get from coffee or sugar or stimulants. True energy comes from ATP. The currency your mitochondria produce when they are functioning well. And they function best not when overfed, but when challenged. When exposed to the right stressor. When reminded that they are needed. That survival depends on them. This is why ease weakens and effort strengthens. Because the mitochondria respond to signals. And the strongest signal is demand. Light is the first fuel. Not food. Light. When you stand in the morning sun, red and near-infrared wavelengths penetrate your skin and activate cytochrome C oxidase, an enzyme in your mitochondria that supercharges ATP production. This is not warmth. This is activation. Your cells are solar panels. And the sun is not just rising outside. It is rising inside you. Every photon a spark. Every ray a reminder to the ancient engines that it is time to burn. But modern life keeps you indoors. Under artificial light that confuses the system. Blue light at night that tells your mitochondria it is still day. Your circadian rhythm collapses. Your energy production falters. You wake tired. You crash midday. You drag through life wondering why you have no vitality. Not because you are broken, but because the fire has been deprived of its most ancient fuel. Sunlight, the original energy source, the one your mitochondria were designed to receive. Breath is the bellows. Oxygen feeds the flame. When you breathe shallowly, you starve the fire. When you breathe deeply, you stoke it. But there is more. Certain breathing techniques actually signal your body to build more mitochondria. To multiply the fires. To expand your capacity for energy at the cellular level. This is not exercise. This is biogenesis. The creation of new power plants inside your own flesh. And it begins with conscious breath. With intention. With the willingness to fill your lungs completely and hold the pressure just long enough to wake the sleeping engines. Cold is the initiation. When you plunge into icy water, your body does not panic. It adapts. It responds by building more mitochondria to generate heat. To protect you. To ensure survival. Cold exposure is not punishment. It is a signal. A challenge. A way to tell your cells we need more fire. And they listen. They multiply. They become more efficient. More resilient. Stronger. Not despite the cold. Because of the cold. Movement feeds the flames. Not mindless cardio. Not chronic exercise. But deliberate, rhythmic, conscious movement. Walking, dancing, stretching, swimming. Anything that opens the channels for oxygen and nutrients to flow into the cells. Sedentary life is suffocation. Motion is breath. And every time you move with presence, you are fanning the flames. You are reminding the mitochondria that they are needed. That there is still work to do. That the body is alive. There is a myth from the northern lands. A goddess who carried the sun in her belly. When the people grew weak, she would place her hands on their backs and whisper, breathe, move, stand in the light. And their strength returned. The elders said it was magic. But it was never magic. It was always mitochondria. The fires within responding to the ancient signals they were designed to receive. Your fatigue is not permanent. Your fog is not your fate. You are not running out of time. You are running out of fire. And the fire can be rekindled. Not with pills or potions, but with the elements: sun, air, cold, motion. The body remembers how to burn. You only need to give it permission. To step into the light. To breathe deeply. To move with purpose. To challenge the system just enough to wake it up. So today, treat your body as a temple of inner suns. Feed the flames. Stand barefoot in the morning. Breathe until your ribs expand. Move until you feel the hum. Plunge into cold until you remember you are alive. And watch as the fires inside you begin to blaze again. Not slowly, immediately. Because the mitochondria are always listening. And they are always ready to rise. Chapter 7, The Piezoelectric Skeleton. Your bones are not dead. They are not scaffolding. They are not the silent framework holding you upright. They are alive, electric, intelligent. Every step you take generates a current. Every movement creates a charge. You are not held together by calcium and structure. You are held together by frequency, by vibration, by the living hum of electricity moving through crystal lattice woven into your very skeleton. This is the piezoelectric effect. When pressure moves through bone, it creates voltage. A tiny spark. A signal that travels faster than nerve impulses. Your bones speak in electricity. And that electricity does not just hold you up. It heals you. It tells stem cells where to go. It activates repair. It regenerates tissue. It reminds the body that it is not static. It is dynamic, alive, responsive, and it listens to the rhythm you create with your own movement. Most people think bones are solid, fixed, unchanging, but bone is one of the most adaptive tissues in your body. It rebuilds itself constantly. Every microfracture, every compression, every twist sends an electric signal that tells osteoblasts where to lay down new bone, where to strengthen, where to thicken. This is why astronauts lose bone density in space. Not because of calcium deficiency, but because of the absence of gravity, the absence of pressure, the absence of the piezoelectric charge that tells the bones they are needed. You were designed to move on Earth, to press your feet into the ground, to carry weight, to twist and bend and spiral. Every one of these movements generates electricity through your skeleton. And that electricity is not waste. It is instruction. It is the language your bones speak to the rest of your body. Telling the immune system where to focus. Telling the nervous system where to send energy. Telling the cells where to repair. Modern life has silenced this language. Cushioned shoes block the charge. Sitting for hours removes the pressure. Concrete and rubber insulate you from the Earth's natural current. You walk through life with a muted skeleton. A system designed to sing but forced into silence. And the result is not just weak bones. It is weak signals. Weak communication. A body that has forgotten how to talk to itself. But the moment you return to natural movement, the language returns. Walk barefoot on grass and feel the electricity rise through your soles. Jump gently and feel the compression spark through your spine. Twist and feel the spiral activate every joint. These are not exercises. These are conversations. Your body speaking to itself in the oldest language it knows. Pressure, frequency, charge. Fascia is part of this system. The web of connective tissue wrapping every muscle, every organ, every bone is not just support. It is a conductor. A liquid crystal network that carries electrical signals faster than nerves. When you move fluidly, the fascia lights up. It transmits information. It harmonizes the entire system. But when you move stiffly, or not at all, the fascia becomes dry, brittle, silent. The web tangles. The signals fade. And the body loses coherence. There are tribes who danced not for celebration but for medicine. They stomped their feet into the earth. They spun in spirals. They moved with rhythm and intention. Not because it looked beautiful, but because it activated the piezoelectric skeleton. Because it generated the charge that told the bones to strengthen, the fascia to conduct, the body to remember it was alive. They did not need doctors. They had movement. They had rhythm. They had the earth. You can return to this. Not by going to a gym. Not by forcing your body into rigid routines. But by moving the way you were designed. Spirals. Circles. Gentle compression. Barefoot walks. Twisting. Swaying. Letting your skeleton remember it is electric. Letting your bones remember they are alive. And when they do, something extraordinary happens. Pain fades. Stiffness dissolves. Energy returns. Not because you fixed something, but because you reconnected the circuit. There is a legend of ancient temples made of stone that could heal when touched. The walls hummed with a frequency that matched the bones of those who entered. Some say it was architecture. Others say it was resonance. But perhaps it was both. Perhaps the temples were built to remind the body of its own electricity. To activate the piezoelectric skeleton through sound, through touch, through vibration. And perhaps that same power lives in you, waiting to be remembered. So press your feet into the ground. Feel the earth push back. Roll your shoulders. Twist your spine. Let pressure become power. Let movement become medicine. You are not made of stone. You are made of crystal. And crystal, when touched, sings. Your bones are singing. You only need to listen. To move. To let the charge flow. And in that flow, your body will remember how to heal itself. Not from the outside, but from the skeleton out. Chapter 8. Water's fourth phase. Water is not what they taught you in school. It is not just liquid, solid, vapor. There is a fourth state. Hidden, alive, structured. And this water is not just in rivers or clouds. It is inside you, lining every cell, surrounding every protein, filling the space between tissues. This water does not just hydrate. It conducts. It organizes. It holds memory. And when it is coherent, you are coherent. When it is disordered, you fall apart. Scientists call it exclusion zone water. EZ water. A gel-like phase that forms along surfaces when exposed to light and energy. It is denser than regular water. More organized. Hexagonal in structure. And it carries a negative charge that repels toxins, bacteria, anything that does not belong. This is not ordinary hydration. This is intelligent water. Water that builds order. Water that remembers what the body is supposed to be. You are not 70% water. You are 70% structured water. Or at least you should be. But most people are dehydrated at the structural level. They drink water, but it passes through without organizing. It does not build the gel. It does not create the coherence. Because structure requires more than drinking. It requires light. It requires movement. It requires minerals. It requires the conditions that turn liquid into life. When you stand in sunlight, infrared light penetrates your skin and charges the water in your tissues. It expands the exclusion zone. It organizes the molecules into crystalline layers that conduct energy, filter waste, and amplify cellular communication. This is why you feel clearer after time in the sun. Not just mood. Structure. Your inner waters are realigning. Remembering their shape. Returning to the order they were designed to hold. Movement structures water. When you sway, stretch, twist, the fascia moves and the water within it reorganizes. Stagnation breeds chaos. Flow breeds coherence. This is why stillness for too long makes you feel foggy. The water loses its charge. It becomes disordered. But the moment you move, even gently, the inner rivers begin to flow again. The structure returns. And with it, clarity. Minerals are the keys that unlock hydration. Water without minerals is empty. It flows through your cells without entering them. But add trace elements, sea salt, electrolytes, and suddenly the water holds charge. It enters the cell. It builds the gel. It becomes part of the structure instead of just passing by. This is why people can drink gallons and still feel dehydrated. Because they are drinking liquid, not structure. And structure is what the body needs. There are cultures that bless water before drinking it. They hold it, speak to it, swirl it with intention. Not superstition, remembrance. Because water holds information. It responds to frequency, to sound, to emotion. Studies have shown that water exposed to loving words forms beautiful crystals. Water exposed to hate forms chaotic ones. Your body is 70% water. And that water is listening. To your thoughts. To your words. To the field you generate around it. Hydration is not passive. It is active. It is not about volume. It is about structure. Drink slowly. Let the water touch your tongue. Let it warm in your mouth. Let your body receive it consciously. Place your hand on the glass. Infuse it with presence. This is not ritual for the sake of tradition. This is communication with the most abundant molecule in your body. And when you communicate with respect, it responds with coherence. There is a teaching from the high mountains. The river does not hold water. It guides it. Your body is the same. You are not meant to store tension, toxins, old emotions. You are meant to let them flow. To guide the current through clear channels. To allow the water within you to move, to cleanse, to renew. Stagnation is death. Flow is life. And flow begins when you remember that water is not just in you. It is you. Wounds heal faster when warmed. Inflammation drops near moving water. The body feels lighter after rain. These are not coincidences. They are signs that your inner waters respond to the outer. That when you place yourself near rivers, oceans, waterfalls, something in you remembers. The structure returns. The coherence rebuilds. You are not separate from nature. You are nature. And your waters speak the same language as the sea. So drink with intention. Move with presence. Stand in the light. Let the water in your body remember what it is. Not just liquid. Not just hydration. But the living matrix that holds you together. The intelligent field that filters, organizes, and transmits life. When your water is structured, you are clear. When your water is disordered, you are lost. But structure can always return. One sip, one breath, one moment of reverence at a time. The river is waiting, and it has always been inside you. Chapter 9, Heart-Brain Symphonic Resonance. Your heart is not a pump. It is a brain. Not metaphorically, literally. There are 40,000 neurons embedded in its walls. Neurons that think, remember, decide. This is why you can feel truth in your chest before your mind catches up. Why grief sits heavy behind your ribs. Why love expands you from the inside out. The heart does not wait for the brain to tell it how to feel. It leads. And when the brain finally learns to follow, something extraordinary happens. You become whole. Most people live backwards. They think the brain rules and the heart obeys. But the signals traveling from heart to brain are far more numerous than the reverse. Every beat sends a cascade of electromagnetic information upward. Hormones, rhythms, pressure waves, each one telling the brain what emotional state to prepare for. Not the other way around. The heart speaks first. The brain listens. And when they harmonize, the body enters a state so powerful it can be measured from across the room. This is called coherence. And it is not calm. It is alignment. It is the moment when every system in your body locks into the same rhythm like 1,000 musicians playing the same note without rehearsal. In this state, your immune function spikes. Your hormones balance. Your nervous system stops flickering between fight and freeze and settles into flow. Not because you added anything, but because you stopped interfering. You let the heart lead. When your heart rhythm is erratic, jagged, chaotic, your brain mirrors it. Thoughts scatter. Focus fails. Anxiety creeps in like fog. But when your heart rhythm smooths into a gentle wave, rolling and repeating, the brain responds instantly. It stops racing. Clarity returns. Creativity opens. You are not thinking your way into peace. You are feeling your way there. And the heart is the doorway. Breath is the bridge between them. When you breathe in for 4 counts and out for 6, you are not just calming yourself. You are tuning the heart. Slowing its rhythm. Deepening its wave. And as the heart slows, the brain follows. Cortisol drops. Oxytocin rises. The nervous system shifts from sympathetic overdrive into parasympathetic rest. Not in theory. In seconds. Measurable. Real. The breath is the conductor. The heart is the lead instrument. And the brain is the audience learning to listen. Ancient traditions knew this without machines. Shamans placed their hands on the chest, not the head. They spoke to the heart because they understood it held the soul. The seat of knowing. The place where truth lives before language can name it. Mystics bowed to the heart center because they felt its magnetic pull. They knew that wisdom does not descend from the mind. It rises from the heart. And when the two meet, enlightenment is not a thought. It is a resonance. Your heart generates the strongest electromagnetic field in your body. 5,000 times more powerful than the brain. That field extends 3 to 6 feet beyond your skin. It touches everyone near you. They feel it even if they do not know why. When your heart is coherent, calm, aligned, people relax in your presence. When it is scattered, they tense. You are not just a body. You are a broadcaster. And every moment, you are transmitting your inner state to the world around you. Gratitude is the fastest way to shift the signal. Not fake gratitude. Not affirmations you do not believe. Real gratitude. The kind that swells in your chest when you remember something beautiful. A face. A moment. A breath you almost forgot to take. When you dwell there, even for 30 seconds, your heart rhythm changes. It smooths. It waves. And your entire biochemistry responds. This is not positive thinking. This is electromagnetic transformation. The heart knows the difference between pretending and feeling. And it only responds to truth. There are breathing patterns passed down through lineages of healers. 4 seconds in. 6 seconds out. Pause. Repeat. Do this for 3 minutes and your electromagnetic field reorganizes. The brain stops chasing the future. The heart stops gripping the past. You land here. Now. In the only moment where healing can occur. Not because you escaped your life. But because you finally entered it fully. And fullness is where coherence lives. Visualize a golden thread connecting your heart to your mind. With every breath, it glows brighter. The mind stops narrating. The heart stops defending. They begin to hum the same tone. You are no longer divided. You are no longer at war with yourself. The inner conflict that has aged you faster than time itself begins to dissolve. And in its place, something older returns. The original harmony you were born with. The one you lost when the world taught you to think instead of feel. Let this be your practice. Before you speak, return to your heart. Before you decide, feel your chest. Before you act, ask the rhythm inside you if it agrees. Not with words. With sensation. Does this expand me or contract me? Does this open my breath or close it? The heart knows. It always has. You only stopped listening because you were taught that logic is superior. But logic is slow. The heart is instant. And in a world moving this fast, you need speed. Not of thought, of knowing. So breathe now. Slowly, deeply. Feel the beat behind your breath. That is your signal. That is the moment your body has been waiting for. The doorway between chaos and coherence. And when you step through it, you will not need to fix your thoughts. They will quiet on their own. Because the heart, when honored, does not need to shout. It simply leads. And the mind, when humble, learns to follow. This is not surrender. This is homecoming. And the body remembers the way. Chapter 10, Breath as Quantum Lever. You are breathing wrong. Not because you are doing it badly. But because you forgot it is a language. Every inhale is a question. Every exhale is an answer. And between them, in that pause, in that sliver of silence, is where the quantum field listens. Where intention becomes biology. Where thought becomes matter. You have been treating breath like background noise. But it is the foreground. It is the lever that moves everything. Most people breathe 15 to 20 times per minute. Shallow, fast, automatic. The body interprets this as danger. Even when you are sitting still, even when nothing is wrong, your nervous system believes you are running. It floods you with cortisol. It tightens your muscles. It prepares for a threat that never comes. And over time, this shallow breathing does not just make you anxious. It makes you sick. It ages you. It slowly suffocates the very cells that keep you alive. But when you slow the breath, when you deepen it, when you breathe 6 times per minute instead of 15, everything changes. Not eventually. Immediately. The vagus nerve activates. The parasympathetic system takes over. The heart rate drops. Blood pressure lowers. Inflammation decreases. And the mind, that relentless narrator, finally goes quiet. Not because you fought it, but because you changed the signal. You told the body, through breath alone, that it is safe. And the body believed you. Breath is not just air. It is information. When you breathe through your nose, you activate nitric oxide production in the sinuses. This molecule opens blood vessels, enhances oxygen delivery, and signals immune function. It is not just breath. It is medicine, a pharmacy you carry with you always. But when you breathe through your mouth, you bypass this system. You lose the signal. You become a machine instead of a living, adaptive organism. The nose is not decoration. It is the gateway to a deeper intelligence. Ancient yogis did not meditate to relax. They meditated to access altered states of consciousness. And the key was always breath. Pranayama. Life force control. They knew what science is only now proving. That breath does not just oxygenate. It regulates. It transforms. It opens channels in the body that remain closed under ordinary breathing. Channels where energy flows. Where healing happens. Where the quantum field and the physical body meet and exchange information faster than thought. Try this now. Inhale for 4 seconds. Hold for 7. Exhale for 8. This is not random. This ratio recalibrates your autonomic nervous system. It shifts you from sympathetic to parasympathetic. From stress to rest. From survival to regeneration. Do it 3 times and you will feel your shoulders drop. Your jaw unclench. Your mind soften. Do it daily and you will rewire your default state. You will stop living in fight or flight and start living in flow. There is a story of a monk who never spoke in conflict. When others argued, he sat and breathed. Slowly, deeply, until the room changed, until the anger dissolved, until even the most furious voices began to soften. They said he had powers. But he had no powers. He had breath. And he understood that breath is contagious. That when one person in the room breathes deeply, everyone else begins to mirror it. Not consciously, unconsciously. The nervous systems sync. The fields align. And peace spreads like wildfire. Your breath is the most underestimated tool you have. It costs nothing. It requires no equipment. It is always available. And yet most people go their entire lives without ever truly using it. They survive on shallow sips of air while their cells beg for depth. For oxygen. For the full expansion that tells the body it is alive. Not just existing. Thriving. Even a sigh has power. One long, slow exhale can reset your entire nervous system. It releases trapped tension. It shakes loose-held emotion. It tells the body, in the only language it understands, that the threat has passed. That it is time to let go. To soften. To return to baseline. You do not need a meditation cushion. You do not need an app. You only need one conscious breath. And that breath, if taken with presence, can change the next 5 minutes. The next hour. The next chapter of your life. Breath is the bridge between the conscious and unconscious mind. Between what you can control and what controls you. It is the only autonomic function you can influence directly. You cannot will your heart to beat slower. You cannot command your digestion to speed up. But you can change your breath. And when you do, everything else follows. The breath is the lever. And when you learn to use it, you realize you have been walking around with a master key in your pocket. A key that opens every door in the body. Every system. Every cell. So stop treating breath like a chore. Stop taking it for granted. Make it sacred. Make it intentional. Make it your first response instead of your last resort. Before you speak, breathe. Before you react, breathe. Before you decide, breathe. Let the air move through you like a prayer. Like a reset. Like the quantum signal it truly is. And watch how your biology responds. Not with time, but with grace. With immediate, undeniable transformation. Because breath is not just survival. It is the first and last language of life itself. Chapter 11, Circadian Command Center. You are not living on your time. You are living on the sun's time. And you have forgotten how to listen. Deep inside your brain, behind your eyes, there is a cluster of cells no bigger than a grain of rice. They do not sleep. They do not rest. They watch the light. Every flicker, every shadow, every sunrise. And based on what they see, they send commands to every organ in your body. Wake up, shut down, repair, digest, detox, sleep. You are not in control. The light is. And until you align with it, you will always be fighting yourself. This tiny cluster is called the suprachiasmatic nucleus. The master clock. The conductor of your circadian rhythm. And it does not care about your schedule. It does not care about your deadlines. It only cares about one thing. Light. When light enters your eyes in the morning, it sends a signal. Cortisol rises. Body temperature increases. Alertness sharpens. The entire system wakes up. But when you skip that morning light, when you stay indoors, when you let your first light be a screen, the signal never arrives. The clock stutters. The rhythm breaks. And every system downstream begins to fail. Your liver waits for darkness to cleanse. Your skin repairs while you sleep. Your brain flushes toxins only in deep rest. But if you stay awake under artificial light, if you scroll until midnight, if you eat late and sleep later, you rob your body of the very conditions it needs to heal. You are not just tired. You are out of sync. And out of sync is where disease begins. Not because your body is weak, but because it is confused. It does not know when to work and when to rest. So it does both poorly. And you pay the price. Blue light at night is not harmless. It is a lie. It tells your brain the sun is still up. That it is noon. That you should be alert. And so melatonin, the hormone of sleep and repair, never rises. You lie in bed, wired but exhausted, unable to sleep but unable to wake. This is not insomnia. This is circadian disruption. And it is epidemic. The solution is not a pill. It is darkness. Real darkness. The kind your ancestors knew. The kind that tells the body, without question, that the day is over. That repair can begin. Morning light is the most powerful drug you will never be prescribed. 10 minutes of sunlight within the first hour of waking sets your entire rhythm for the day. It anchors your cortisol peak. It primes melatonin for the evening. It stabilizes your mood, your energy, your focus. And it costs nothing. But most people miss it. They wake indoors. They commute in cars. They work under fluorescent lights. And by the time they see the sun, it is too late. The signal has passed. The clock has drifted. And the body, loyal but confused, does its best with bad information. Your meal times are also clocks. When you eat tells your organs what time it is. If you eat late at night, your liver thinks it is morning. Your pancreas starts working when it should be resting. Your gut, which was preparing to cleanse, is forced back into digestion. The systems collide. Inflammation rises. Sleep suffers. Weight clings. Not because of what you ate, but because of when. Timing is not a detail. It is the foundation. Eat with the sun. Fast with the stars. And your body will remember how to regulate itself. There are traditions where evening was sacred. Where families dimmed the lights. Where stories were told by firelight. Where the body was allowed to wind down slowly, naturally, the way it was designed. No one had to be taught to sleep. They simply followed the rhythm. The light. The darkness. The ancient pulse that still lives in your cells, waiting for you to remember. To return. To stop fighting the tide and start moving with it. Children and elders still feel this rhythm. They yawn with the sunset. They wake with the birds. They do not question it. But somewhere in between, you were taught to override it. To stay up late. To wake early. To push through fatigue. To call it discipline. But it is not discipline. It is rebellion. Against your own biology. And your biology, patient but persistent, will eventually demand payment. In exhaustion. In sickness. In the slow erosion of vitality that you mistake for aging. But it is not age. It is misalignment. And alignment is always within reach. So tonight, honor the darkness. Turn off the lights an hour early. Light a candle. Sit in the quiet. Let your nervous system know that the day is done. Let melatonin rise. Let your body prepare for the sacred work of repair. And tomorrow, greet the sun. Step outside. Let the light touch your skin. Let it enter your eyes. Let it reset the clock that has been ticking since before you were born. You are not separate from the sun. You are an extension of its rhythm. And when you remember that, you stop aging out of sync. You start living in time. Real time. The only time that matters. The time written in light. Chapter 12, Microbiome Signaling Networks. You are not one. You are a planet. Inside you, trillions of beings live, breathe, communicate, die, and are born again. They do not just digest your food. They shape your mood. They train your immune system. They talk to your brain. They decide whether you feel joy or despair, energy or fog, health or decay. And you have been ignoring them. Treating them like background. Like passengers. But they are not passengers. They are drivers. And if you do not feed them well, they will drive you into the ground. Your gut is not just a tube. It is a neural network. A second brain. With more neurons than your spinal cord. More neurotransmitters than your skull. Serotonin, the molecule of happiness, is not made in your brain. 90% of it is made in your gut. By bacteria. Tiny organisms you cannot see, producing the very chemicals that determine whether you wake up with hope or dread. This is not philosophy. This is biochemistry. Your mood is microbial. And if your microbiome is suffering, so are you. When your gut is inflamed, your thoughts follow. Brain fog is not just mental. It is intestinal. When the gut lining breaks down, toxins leak into the bloodstream. The immune system reacts. Inflammation spreads. And the brain, connected to the gut by the vagus nerve, receives every signal. It interprets the chaos as threat, as stress, as danger, and you feel it as anxiety, as depression, as the weight of a world pressing down on you. But the world is not the problem. Your gut is, and the gut can be healed. Diversity is the key, not just in nutrients, but in species. The more types of bacteria you host, the more resilient you are. The more stable your mood, the stronger your immunity. But modern life is a monoculture. Processed food, antibiotics, stress, sterilization, all of it strips diversity, kills the good with the bad, leaves you with a barren landscape where only the aggressive survive. And when the aggressive dominate, inflammation rises. Allergies appear. Autoimmunity begins. Not because your body turned on you, but because the ecosystem collapsed. And ecosystems can be rebuilt. Fermented foods are not trends. They are ancient medicine. Kimchi, sauerkraut, kefir, miso. Every culture that lived long had fermentation. Not because it tasted good, but because it worked. These foods carry living bacteria. Strains that colonize your gut. That compete with pathogens. That produce vitamins, enzymes, signals your body has been starving for. 1 tablespoon a day. That is all it takes to begin shifting the ecosystem. To invite the healers back in. To restore the balance that modern life stole from you. Even your cravings are not always yours. Certain bacteria signal for sugar, for salt, for what feeds them, not you. When you crave junk, it is often not weakness. It is a hijacked system. But when you starve those bacteria by changing what you eat, they die. And new ones take their place. Ones that crave plants, fiber, whole foods. Your desires shift because your inner population shifted. You are not battling willpower. You are reshaping a civilization. And civilizations change slowly, then all at once. Fasting resets the microbiome. It gives the gut time to cleanse, to rebuild, to remember what it was before you buried it in constant food. 12 hours. 14. 16. Each hour without eating is an hour of repair. The ecosystem rebalances. The overgrown die back. The beneficial bloom. And when you eat again, choose wisely. Because the first meal after a fast is a repopulation event. It decides who gets to colonize the fresh soil. Feed it fiber. Feed it color. Feed it life. And watch how your body responds. With clarity. With energy. With a joy you thought was gone forever. There is a teaching from the deserts. A healer who never treated the mind before treating the belly. Clear the river, he said, and the sky will clear too. He knew what science now confirms. That the gut and brain are not separate. They are one system, one field. And when the gut is calm, the mind follows. When the gut is nourished, the spirit rises. You cannot think your way out of a sick gut. But you can eat your way into a healthy mind. So bless your meals. Not with words. With intention. Choose foods that feed the trillions within you. Colorful plants. Bitter greens. Living cultures. Let every bite be a message. You are supported. You are whole. You are not alone. Because you are not. You are a cosmos. A living, breathing, interdependent network of life. And when you honor that, when you feed the many as well as the one, everything changes. Your mood, your energy, your skin, your sleep, your hope, all of it microbial, all of it waiting for you to remember. That health is not individual. It is collective. And the collective lives inside you. Chapter 13, Autophagy, the internal spring cleaning. Your body is eating itself right now. And that is not a warning. It is a gift. Deep inside every cell, a quiet intelligence is sorting through the wreckage of living. Old proteins. Broken organelles. Fragments that no longer serve. And one by one, they are being consumed. Not destroyed. Recycled. Transformed into fuel for what comes next. This is not decay. This is resurrection happening at the molecular level. And you control when it begins. Most people think the body only builds. That healing means adding more. More supplements. More treatments. More interventions. But the deepest form of healing is subtraction. It is the body eating what does not belong. Clearing the clutter. Making space for the new. And this process has a name. Autophagy. Self-feeding. The ancient ritual your cells perform when you finally get out of the way. When you eat constantly, your body never rests. Digestion is a full-time job. Every meal requires energy, enzymes, attention. And while the body is digesting, it cannot deeply cleanse. It cannot turn inward and sort through the debris. It is like trying to clean a house while guests keep arriving. The work never gets done. But when you stop eating, when you create space, the body exhales. And the janitors come out. These janitors are not metaphorical. They are cellular structures called autophagosomes. Tiny vesicles that roam your inner landscape hunting for waste. They find damaged mitochondria, misfolded proteins, even invading pathogens. They wrap them up, digest them, and recycle their parts into something useful. This is not destruction. It is transformation. The body turning its own wreckage into building blocks for vitality. Fasting is the key that unlocks this process. Not starvation. Not punishment. Just a pause. 12 hours without food and autophagy begins to whisper. 16 hours and it starts to sing. 24 hours and it becomes a chorus. Your cells shift from growth mode to repair mode. From expansion to refinement. From adding to editing. And in that shift, something extraordinary happens. The body begins to remember what it was before the noise. You do not need to fast for days. You do not need to suffer. Even a simple overnight fast, from dinner to breakfast, activates this ancient mechanism. Your body was designed for feast and famine. For cycles of nourishment and emptiness. But modern life has given you endless feast. And in the absence of emptiness, the clutter accumulates. The debris builds. And the body, loyal but overwhelmed, begins to slow. To age. To forget how to cleanse itself. Movement amplifies the effect. When you walk while fasting, when you stretch, when you breathe deeply, you accelerate the cleanup. Exercise creates micro-damage. Tiny tears in muscle. Small stresses in tissue. And autophagy responds by clearing the damaged parts and rebuilding them stronger. This is how you become resilient. Not by avoiding stress, but by cycling through it with intention. Stress, then rest. Damage, then repair. The body thrives in rhythm, not monotony. There is a story from the mountains of Tibet. A monk who lived past 120 years. When asked his secret, he said simply, "I eat half of what I want and I let my body rest the other half of the day." He was not starving. He was cycling. He understood that the body needs both fuel and space. both nourishment and silence. And in that balance, he remained ageless. Not because he avoided life, but because he honored the rhythm of repair. Sleep is also a form of autophagy. When you enter deep sleep, when your brain waves slow and your body goes still, the cleanup intensifies. Cerebrospinal fluid washes through your brain, flushing out toxins that accumulated during the day. Your cells digest their own waste. Your organs reset. This is why sleep deprivation ages you faster than almost anything else. It is not just fatigue. It is the accumulation of cellular garbage that never got taken out. Heat accelerates the process. Cold does too. A sauna session triggers heat shock proteins that protect and repair. A cold plunge activates pathways that clear metabolic waste. These are not luxuries. They are signals. Messages to your cells that say it is time to cleanse, to tighten, to renew. Your body does not need comfort to heal. It needs contrast. It needs the edges where breakdown meets rebuilding. Even emotions are cleared through this process. Trauma lives in the body as tension, as inflammation, as patterns that repeat without your permission. But when you fast, when you move, when you enter deep stillness, the body begins to metabolize these too. Not by thinking them away, but by digesting the charge they carry, releasing the grip they have on your nervous system. Autophagy is not just physical. It is emotional, spiritual, a full system reboot. You may fear hunger. You may think you need to eat constantly to stay strong. But hunger is not weakness. It is a signal, a doorway. When you feel it, when you sit with it, when you breathe through it without reacting, you realize it is just a wave. It rises. It peaks. It passes. And on the other side of that wave is clarity. Energy. A lightness you forgot was possible. Because the body is no longer digesting. It is cleansing. And cleansing feels like waking up. So create windows. Sacred pauses in your eating. Let breakfast come later. Let dinner end earlier. Give your body 12 hours. Then 14. Then 16. And feel what happens. Not in weeks. In days. You will wake lighter. Your mind will sharpen. Your energy will stabilize. Not because you added something, but because you stopped interrupting the process that was always there. Waiting. Listening. Ready to sweep the halls and make you new again. Chapter 14. Emotional Alchemy. Your anger is not just in your mind. It is in your liver. Your grief is not just a feeling. It is inflammation. Your joy is not abstract. It is chemistry. Every emotion you have ever felt has left a mark on your biology. And those marks are still there. Shaping your cells. Directing your hormones. Writing instructions into your DNA. You are not a mind controlling a body. You are a body remembering every emotion you ever refused to feel. This is not poetry. This is physiology. When you feel fear, cortisol floods your bloodstream. When you hold on to resentment, your immune system becomes confused. When you suppress sadness, it settles into your lungs, your chest, your throat. The body does not lie. It cannot. It only translates. And what you feel, it becomes. Until you learn to transmute. Alchemy is the ancient art of turning lead into gold. Of transforming the base into the sacred. And that is exactly what you must do with your emotions. Not suppress them. Not deny them. Not pretend they do not exist. But feel them fully. Let them move through you like weather. Like storms that pass and leave the air clear. Because emotions are not permanent. They are energy in motion. And energy that moves does not calcify. It does not become disease. It becomes wisdom. Most people are terrified of their own feelings. They numb. They distract. They scroll. They drink. They eat. They do anything to avoid the sensation rising in their chest. But that avoidance has a cost. Every unfelt emotion becomes a debt. And the body always collects. In fatigue. In pain. In illness that appears random but is actually the accumulated weight of everything you refuse to face. The body keeps the score. And it speaks in symptoms. Gratitude is the fastest alchemical formula. Not fake gratitude. Not the kind you perform to convince yourself you are fine. Real gratitude. The kind that swells in your chest when you remember something so simple it almost makes you cry. A breath. A sunrise. A hand that held yours when you thought you were alone. That gratitude is not just a feeling. It is a signal. It tells your nervous system you are safe. And when the nervous system feels safe, everything softens. Cortisol drops. Inflammation decreases. The immune system stops attacking and starts repairing. But you cannot skip the darker emotions to get to gratitude. You cannot bypass grief to reach joy. The alchemy requires the full spectrum. You must feel the weight before you can release it. You must sit with anger before it transforms into clarity. You must cry before you can laugh freely again. The body does not heal in halves. It heals in wholeness. And wholeness includes everything you have been taught to hide. Place your hand on your chest right now. Feel the heat, the pulse, the tension or softness there. This is where your emotions live. Not in your head, in your body. And when you touch that place with kindness, when you breathe into it instead of away from it, something begins to shift. The charge softens. The story loosens. You are no longer trapped by the feeling. You are holding it, witnessing it, allowing it to be here without letting it define you. There is a practice from the deserts of ancient Persia. When someone felt overwhelmed by emotion, they would stand barefoot on the earth, place both hands on their heart, and speak the feeling aloud. I am angry. I am afraid. I am heartbroken. Not to complain. Not to be heard by others. But to give the emotion a voice. To let it exist without shame. And in that speaking, the energy would move. The body would exhale. The emotion would pass like wind through an open door. Your biology responds to honesty faster than anything else. When you lie to yourself, when you pretend you are fine, your nervous system knows. It stays braced. But when you tell the truth, even if the truth is I am not okay right now, the body relaxes. Because truth creates safety. And safety is the only environment where healing can occur. You cannot heal in a state of pretending. You can only heal in presence. Journaling is alchemy on paper. When you write what you feel, you give it form. You pull it out of the fog and into the light. And once it is written, it loses power. It is no longer swirling inside you, growing larger in the dark. It is there, on the page, visible, finite, and you realize it is just a feeling. Not a fact. Not forever. Just a wave that came and will eventually go. The pen is a tool of transmutation. Use it. Kindness toward yourself is not soft. It is medicinal. When you place your hand on your own heart and whisper I forgive you or I am here or you are not alone, you are not just comforting yourself. You are sending a biochemical signal. Oxytocin releases. Heart rate variability improves. The vagus nerve activates. Your entire system shifts from defense to repair. Self-compassion is not indulgence. It is survival. It is the difference between a body at war with itself and a body learning to heal. There are studies now that confirm what healers have always known. People who feel their emotions fully and release them live longer. Their telomeres are longer. Their inflammation is lower. Their immune systems are stronger. Not because they are happier, but because they are honest. They do not store what should be released. They do not carry what was never theirs to begin with. They metabolize emotion the way the body metabolizes food. And in that metabolizing, they stay young. So stop running. Stop numbing. Stop pretending. Sit down. Place your hands somewhere on your body where you feel the weight. And breathe. Not to fix it. Not to make it go away. Just to be with it. To say I feel you. I see you. You are allowed to be here. And watch what happens. The storm does not destroy you. It moves through you. And when it passes, you are still here. Lighter. Clearer. More you than you have ever been. That is alchemy. That is how lead becomes gold. One breath. One feeling. One moment of courageous honesty at a time. Chapter 15. Sound frequencies that heal. Your body is not solid. It is vibration pretending to be form. Every cell, every organ, every bone is humming at a frequency you cannot hear but can always feel. And when that frequency is disrupted, when the song inside you goes out of tune, disease begins. Not as invasion, as dissonance. A forgetting of the original tone. But sound can remind you. Sound can retune what time and trauma have distorted. Because your body does not just hear sound. It becomes it. There are frequencies that shatter glass. And there are frequencies that mend bone. The difference is not volume. It is resonance. When a sound matches the natural vibration of a structure, it amplifies it. This is why certain songs make you cry without knowing why. Why a voice can calm you instantly. Why a drum can wake something ancient in your chest. Sound does not need permission to enter you. It moves through you whether you invite it or not. And what it does inside you depends entirely on what frequency it carries. 528 Hz is called the frequency of love. Not because it feels warm, but because it has been shown to repair DNA, to restructure water molecules, to restore what was broken at the cellular level. This is not mysticism. This is physics. When you expose damaged cells to this tone, they begin to reorganize. The chaos softens. The structure returns. It is as if the sound is reminding the cells what they were before the injury. What they still are beneath the noise. Your voice is the most powerful healing instrument you will ever own. When you hum, when you chant, when you sing, you are not just making noise. You are vibrating your entire body from the inside out. The vagus nerve, the master regulator of your nervous system, runs directly past your vocal cords. Every time you hum, you activate it. Every time you sing, you massage it. And when the vagus nerve is toned, everything calms. Digestion improves. Heart rate slows. Inflammation decreases. You are literally vibrating yourself into coherence. In ancient temples, sound was medicine. Tibetan bowls, Gregorian chants, didgeridoos, drums. These were not entertainment. They were prescriptions. The sick would lie in the center of the sound, letting it wash over them, through them, until the dissonance in their bodies began to match the harmony in the room. And they would rise, not because they were cured, but because they were retuned. The frequency had reset what words could not reach. Even silence has a frequency. The space between sounds is not empty. It is full of potential, of rest, of recalibration. When you sit in true silence, not the silence of a quiet room but the silence of no input, no screens, no voices, your nervous system begins to reset. It stops bracing. It stops scanning for threat. And in that softness, repair begins. Silence is not the absence of sound. It is the presence of stillness. And stillness is where the body remembers its original song. There is a tribe in the Amazon who believe every person has a song. Not a song they sing. A song they are. When someone falls ill, the tribe gathers and sings that person's song back to them. Not to heal them, but to remind them, to call them back to their frequency. To say you have forgotten your tune, but we remember it for you. And often, that remembering is enough. The body hears its own name in the melody and returns. You do not need perfect pitch. You do not need training. You only need willingness. Try this now. Place one hand on your chest. Close your eyes. Take a deep breath. And on the exhale, hum. Low. Deep. Let it rumble in your ribs. Feel the vibration in your throat, your chest, your skull. That is your sound. That is your frequency. And every time you hum, you are tuning yourself. Clearing static. Returning to resonance. Music is not passive. What you listen to shapes you. Certain frequencies open your heart. Others close it. Certain rhythms calm your nervous system. Others activate it. Be intentional. Curate your soundscape the way you curate your food. Let your environment be filled with tones that nourish, not deplete. Singing bowls, ocean waves, rain, wind, even your own breath. These are not background. They are medicine. And they work whether you believe in them or not. Some healers work only with sound. They do not touch. They do not prescribe. They simply play a frequency and watch the body respond. Tuning forks on acupuncture points. Gongs bathing the nervous system. Voices chanting in specific tones. And the results are undeniable. Pain dissolves. Tension releases. Energy returns. Not because the sound did something to the body, but because it reminded the body what it already knew. How to vibrate in harmony. How to return to its original frequency. How to sing itself whole. So let yourself sound. Let yourself hum in the car. Sing in the shower. Chant before sleep. Let your voice be wild, awkward, untrained. It does not matter. What matters is that you vibrate. That you let sound move through you and shake loose what has been stuck. You are not just a body. You are a resonant chamber. A living instrument. And when you remember how to play yourself, the healing is not something you search for. It is something you become. One tone, one vibration, one sacred sound at a time. Chapter 16, Light as Nutrient. You have been starving yourself of light. Not food. Light. The most ancient, most essential nutrient your body knows. You were not designed to live indoors. Under artificial glow. Behind glass. You were made to greet the sun every morning with your skin bare and your eyes open. To let the first rays of dawn enter your retinas and reset every clock inside you. But you have been hiding. And your body is paying the price in ways you do not even recognize as light hunger. Morning light is not optional. It is foundational. Within the first hour of waking, your eyes need to see the sun. Not through a window. Not through sunglasses. Direct. Natural. Unfiltered. When that light enters your eyes, it hits photoreceptors that send a signal straight to your brain. The signal says it is day. Wake up. The hypothalamus responds. Cortisol peaks at the right time. Serotonin begins to build. Melatonin is scheduled to return 12 to 14 hours later. Your entire circadian rhythm, the conductor of every biological process you have, is set by that light. Without it, you drift. And drifting is aging. Your mitochondria do not run on food alone. They run on light. Red and near-infrared wavelengths penetrate your skin and activate enzymes inside these cellular powerhouses. They boost ATP production. They reduce oxidative stress. They signal repair. This is not metaphor. This is measurable. When you stand in morning or evening sun, your cells are charging. Like a battery. Like a solar panel. You are photosynthetic in ways science is only beginning to understand. And when you avoid the sun, when you live under LED and fluorescent bulbs, your cells dim. They lose voltage. They forget how to produce energy efficiently. And you feel it as fatigue, brain fog, a heaviness you cannot name. Blue light at night is poison. Not dramatic. Literal. When blue wavelengths hit your eyes after sunset, your brain thinks it is noon. Melatonin, the hormone that initiates sleep and repair, never rises. Cortisol stays elevated. Your body remains in day mode even as the world goes dark. And over time, this disruption does not just steal your sleep. It steals your health. Your immune function drops. Your blood sugar destabilizes. Your mood crashes. All because you are telling your biology that the sun never sets. That it is always time to be alert. To produce. To perform. Your body believes you. And it breaks. Sunlight heals wounds faster. It reduces inflammation. It strengthens bones. It balances hormones. It lifts depression. It synchronizes your gut bacteria. This is not alternative medicine. This is biology. Every system in your body is designed to interface with the sun. Your skin produces vitamin D, yes, but that is just the beginning. Light affects gene expression. It modulates immune cells. It influences neurotransmitter production. You are not separate from the sun. You are an extension of it. A biological solar receiver. And when you disconnect from that source, you wither. Ancient peoples knew this without research. They built temples aligned with solstices. They prayed at dawn. They honored the sun not as a god but as a partner. A force that sustained life. And they lived closer to their biology because of it. They did not need studies to tell them that hiding from the sun made them sick. They felt it. They saw it. And they structured their lives around the rhythm of light and dark because survival depended on it. You have forgotten. But your cells have not. Even 5 minutes matters. Step outside within an hour of waking. Face east. Let the light touch your face. Your arms. Your chest. Do not stare at the sun. Just be in its presence. Let your eyes soften and receive. Let your skin drink it in. This is not lazy. This is essential. You are recalibrating your inner clock. You are feeding your mitochondria. You are signaling to every system in your body that it is time to be alive. And that signal, simple as it is, cascades into everything. Your mood. your energy, your sleep, your longevity. Red light therapy mimics the wavelengths of sunrise and sunset. It penetrates deeper than visible light. It reaches your mitochondria, your bones, your fascia. It reduces pain. It accelerates healing. It rejuvenates skin not by adding anything, but by waking up the cellular machinery that was always there. Dormant. Waiting for the right frequency. You do not need expensive devices. Though they help. You need the sun. Morning and evening. The gentle, healing rays that have powered life on this planet for billions of years. Firelight is different from screen light. Candles, campfires, oil lamps. These flicker in the red and orange spectrum. They do not disrupt melatonin. They do not confuse your brain. They signal warmth, safety, winding down. This is why sitting by a fire feels so calming. It is not nostalgia. It is biology. Your nervous system recognizes this light as the end of the day. As permission to rest. To let go. To prepare for the sacred work of sleep. There is a reason you feel better at the beach. Near the mountains. In open fields. It is not just the air. It is the light. Unfiltered. Full spectrum. Reflecting off water, off snow, off the earth. Your body is receiving information it has been starving for. And it responds immediately. With clarity. With energy. With a sense of aliveness you forgot was possible. Because you are not meant to live in boxes. You are meant to live under the sky. And the sky is always speaking. In wavelengths. In frequencies. In the oldest language your cells know. So step outside. Every day. Let the sun be your first meal. Let it feed your mitochondria, reset your rhythms, remind your body that it is still connected to the cosmos. You are not broken. You are not deficient. You are light-starved. And the cure is free. It rises every morning. Waiting. Offering. Ready to restore what the dark has taken. All you have to do is show up. Barefoot. Open. Willing to remember that you were never separate from the light. You are made of it. And it has been calling you home all along. Chapter 17 Grounding the Circuit. What if I told you that beneath your feet right now lies a force so ancient, so electric it has been healing humanity since before language existed? Before you learned to speak, before you learned to walk, you knew this truth. The earth is alive and it remembers you. Every second you stand disconnected from the ground, you lose voltage. Your cells designed to pulse with the rhythm of the planet slowly fall out of sync. Modern life has wrapped you in rubber, in plastic, in concrete, severing the oldest relationship you have ever known. The one between your skin and the soil that made you. But the moment your bare foot touches grass, something extraordinary begins. Electrons, billions of them, flood into your body like water rushing into parched land. Your nervous system exhales. The inflammation that has been gnawing at your tissues quietly for years suddenly receives a signal to stop. Your blood thins not because of medicine but because the earth herself is the original anticoagulant. This is not metaphor. This is measurable science disguised as ancient wisdom. Your body operates on electrical charge. Every heartbeat, every thought, every immune response rides on a current. When you disconnect from the earth, that current becomes static, chaotic, lost. And you feel it as fatigue, as brain fog, as a low hum of discomfort you can never quite name. Indigenous peoples never wore shoes in sacred ceremonies. They knew what we forgot. That the ground is not just support. It is source. It is nourishment. The same way light feeds your mitochondria, the earth feeds your voltage. And without it you become a battery slowly draining in a world that demands you stay lit. There is a phenomenon scientists now call voltage-gated healing. When your body receives a steady flow of electrons from the earth, channels open. Gates that were rusted shut by stress, by toxins, by disconnection suddenly swing wide. And through those gates healing pours. Stem cells activate. Pain receptors quiet. Cortisol, the hormone of survival, drops within minutes, not hours. Imagine this. You are standing barefoot on wet morning grass. The dew conducts the charge more freely. As electrons enter through the soles of your feet, they spiral up through your fascia, through your bones, into your organs. Your heart begins to beat in rhythm with the electromagnetic pulse of the planet, 7.83 Hz. The same frequency your brain drops into during deep meditation, during prayer, during the moments you feel most alive. Water amplifies this connection. Stand in a stream and you become a conductor. Swim in a lake and every cell drinks from the current. Ocean waves crashing against your skin do more than cool you. They baptize you back into the electrical family you were born into. Rain is not inconvenience. It is reunion. A researcher once placed electrodes on a man before and after he walked barefoot for 30 minutes. The change was staggering. His blood cells, which had been clumping together like frightened crowds, suddenly spread apart. Each one moving freely, efficiently delivering oxygen to tissues that had been starving. His face softened. His breath deepened. He did not know why he felt better. He only knew that something inside him had remembered. You do not need hours. You need contact. 10 minutes every morning. Bare feet on earth. Palms pressed into soil. Lying flat on grass under open sky. This is not leisure. It is medicine that costs nothing and asks only that you return to what you have always been. A child of the ground. But here is what most will never tell you. Grounding does not just heal the body. It clears the field around you. The bioelectric cloud that surrounds your skin becomes coherent, organized, radiant. Others feel this without knowing why. They are drawn to your calm, to your presence. You become magnetic not because you are trying but because you are connected. So before you reach for another supplement, before you schedule another treatment, ask yourself this. When was the last time you stood on the earth and let her take your pain? When did you last remember that you are not separate from the ground beneath you but an extension of it? The circuit is waiting. It has been waiting since the day you were born. All you have to do is close the loop. Remove the barrier. Step down. Touch the ancient current. And let the oldest healer you have ever known remind your body how to glow. Chapter 18: Flow States and Neurogenesis. There exists a place between effort and ease where time bends, where the impossible becomes fluid, where you stop being the doer and become the doing itself. This is not meditation. This is not relaxation. This is flow. The state where your brain rewires itself in real time, building new neurons like a river, carving new paths through stone. Most people live their entire lives never touching this place. They mistake it for talent, for luck, for something only athletes and artists can access. But flow is not reserved for the chosen. It is the birthright of every human who dares to step beyond fear into full presence. And when you enter it, your biology does not just change. It evolves. In flow, the prefrontal cortex, the part of your brain that judges, that doubts, that holds you back temporarily, goes quiet. Scientists call this transient hypofrontality. The voice that whispers you are not enough falls silent. And in that silence, the deeper mind, the one that has been creating worlds since the beginning of time, takes over. Your neurons begin firing in synchrony. Brainwaves drop from beta, the frequency of stress, into alpha, and theta, the frequencies of creativity, of insight, of dreams while awake. Dopamine floods your system not as a reward but as fuel. Norepinephrine sharpens your focus. Anandamide, the bliss molecule, opens pathways that have been locked for years. Endorphins dull pain not because there is injury but because the body knows in this state nothing can break you. And here is the secret they do not teach you. In flow, your brain does not just work better. It grows. New neurons sprout in the hippocampus, the region of memory and learning. New connections form between regions that rarely speak to each other. You are not using your brain more efficiently. You are building a better brain with every moment you stay in the current. Flow is not found in comfort. It is found at the edge. The place where challenge meets skill, where you are stretched but not shattered. A musician lost in a solo. A surfer riding a wave that could crush them. A writer whose hand moves faster than thought. These are not accidents. These are humans remembering what they were built for. To merge with the moment so completely that the self dissolves and only aliveness remains. But you do not need to be an athlete or an artist to access this. You need only to find your edge. The thing that pulls you forward not by obligation but by fascination. Maybe it is cooking. Maybe it is gardening. Maybe it is a conversation so deep you forget to check your phone. The gateway is always the same. Full attention. No distraction. No escape. Just you and the task breathing together as one. Ancient rituals knew this. The trance dances. The long runs across sacred land. The drumming circles that lasted until dawn. These were not performances. They were portals. Intentional entries into the state where the ordinary mind steps aside and something older, something wiser moves through you. And in that movement, healing happens. Trauma stored in the body for years suddenly releases. Patterns that have kept you small suddenly shatter. You do not heal because you tried. You heal because you disappeared into the flow and the flow washed you clean. There is a story of a potter in Japan who entered flow so deeply while working that he would lose entire days. His hands moved without thought, shaping clay into forms that seemed impossible. When asked how he did it, he said, "I do not make the pot. The pot makes itself through me. I am only the space where it happens." This is what flow offers. Not control but collaboration. Not mastery but surrender. And in that surrender your brain does not just fire. It rewires. Neuroplasticity, the ability to change, becomes not a concept but a lived experience. Every time you enter flow, you are voting for a new version of yourself. A version that is more creative, more resilient, more alive. So stop waiting for permission to feel this. Stop believing it is rare or difficult. Flow is available now in the next task you do with full presence, in the next risk you take that scares and thrills you, in the next moment you forget to perform and simply become. Let go of the outcome. Let go of the observer. Just step into the current and let it carry you. And as you move, as you merge, as you disappear into the doing, know this. You are not losing yourself. You are finding the self that was always there beneath the noise. The self that does not need to try because it is made of the same intelligence that spins galaxies and sprouts seeds. This is flow. This is neurogenesis. This is your brain remembering it was never finished growing. And the moment you enter this state, you stop aging in the old way. You start evolving. And evolution, beloved listener, does not wait for permission. It simply moves through those brave enough to let it. Chapter 19: The Placebo Superpower. What if I told you the most powerful pharmacy on earth is not in a lab? It is inside your skull. What if every pill, every treatment, every cure you have ever taken worked not because of what it contained but because of what you believed it contained? You would call me a liar. But your body already knows I am telling the truth. The placebo effect is not a trick. It is proof. Proof that your mind is not a passenger in this body but the architect. Belief does not support healing. Belief is healing. And the moment you understand this, you will never see yourself the same way again. There are cases documented and undeniable where patients given sugar pills experienced full remissions from chronic pain. Their brains released endorphins identical to morphine not because the pill contained it but because they expected relief. And expectation is a language your cells speak fluently. There are surgeries where doctors made incisions, closed them without doing anything, and the patients healed as if the procedure were real. Their belief in the surgery activated repair mechanisms that medicine could not touch. This is not rare. This is how you are designed. Your brain does not distinguish between what is real and what is vividly believed. To your neurons, a memory and an imagination light up the same circuits. To your body, a thought of danger and actual danger release the same cortisol. So if belief in harm can create harm, why can belief in healing not create healing? It can. It does. And it has been doing so since the first healer handed the first patient a root and said with absolute certainty, "This will save you." The root may have been ordinary, but the certainty was not. And the body receiving that certainty felt safe. And safety is the soil where all healing grows. You have been conditioned to think the placebo effect is weakness. That real medicine must come from outside, must be complex, must be proven. But what if the real medicine was always the meaning you assigned to it? What if ritual matters more than chemistry? What if trust matters more than dosage? In hospitals, patients who believe their doctor cares for them heal faster from the same surgeries, given the same drugs, as those who feel unseen. The difference is not medical. It is emotional. And emotion rewrites biology in real time. When you feel cared for, oxytocin floods your system, inflammation drops, blood flow increases to wounded areas. You are not imagining wellness. You are conducting it. Here is the truth they will never put on a bottle. You do not need to understand how something works for it to work. You need to believe it will. And belief, when held with full body certainty, becomes signal. And signal becomes cells, and cells become healing. Shamans knew this. They gave plants, yes, but they also gave story symbol ceremony. They knew the patient needed more than a substance. They needed a reason to believe they would survive. And that reason became biochemistry. Hope is not passive. It is a hormone cascading through your bloodstream telling every organ we are not done yet. Visualization amplifies this. Close your eyes. Picture light golden and warm moving into the place that hurts. See it not as imagination but as instruction. Your immune cells do not have eyes but they follow your focus. Your tissues do not have ears but they listen to your inner voice. When you imagine healing, your body begins the process before the wound even closes. There was a man told he had months to live. He refused to believe it. He visualized his cancer shrinking every single day. He spoke to it not with hate but with authority. You do not belong here. Leave. And after a year the scans showed nothing. His doctors called it spontaneous remission. He called it Jue Ding decision. You are more powerful than you have been taught. Your belief is not decoration on top of healing. It is the foundation. And when you align your belief with your biology, when you stop doubting your own capacity to repair, you do not just improve. You transform. So speak to your body as if it is listening because it is. Thank it before it heals as if it already has. Trust the treatment you choose not because it is perfect but because trust itself is medicine. And watch as your cells mirrors that trust with renewal, with resilience, with a biology that bends toward the story you tell it. This is not fantasy. This is physics hidden in plain sight. The placebo is not the lie. The placebo is the truth that you are the healer you have been searching for. And the moment you believe that not as a concept but as a certainty felt in your bones, the pharmacy inside you opens. And miracles stop being rare. They become inevitable. Chapter 20: Intermittent Hypoxia Training. What if the secret to building an indestructible body was not more oxygen but less? What if the very thing you fear, the held breath, the burning lungs, the edge of discomfort, was the doorway to a biology so resilient it could thrive in any condition? Your ancestors knew scarcity. They climbed mountains where air thinned. They dove into oceans holding their breath until their lungs screamed. And their bodies did not weaken. They adapted. They grew stronger, more efficient, more alive. And that same intelligence still lives in you, waiting for the signal to awaken. Intermittent hypoxia is not deprivation. It is communication. When you briefly limit oxygen, you are not starving your cells. You are challenging them. And your cells, like all living things, grow only when challenged. The comfortable body is the aging body. The stressed body, when stress is brief and intentional, is the regenerating body. Here is what happens in those moments when you hold your breath past comfort. Carbon dioxide builds. Oxygen dips. And your body, sensing a crisis it has survived 1,000,000 times before, begins to shift. Capillaries, the tiny blood vessels that feed every tissue, start to multiply. You are growing new rivers inside yourself. New pathways for life to flow. Mitochondria, those ancient engines of energy, sense the lack and replicate, building backup systems so that next time you will be ready. Erythropoietin, a hormone that commands your bone marrow to produce more red blood cells, begins to rise. You are not just adapting to less air. You are creating more capacity to carry it. Your blood becomes richer, denser, more alive. And with it, your endurance, your clarity, your vitality all ascend. Athletes training at altitude have known this for decades. But you do not need mountains. You need only breath and courage. Lie down. Breathe in fully. Hold not with force but with awareness. Feel the edges. Feel the tightness, the urge to release. Do not panic. Stay present. This discomfort is not danger. It is the signal your body needs to evolve. Release slowly. Breathe again. Hold again. With each cycle, you are teaching your system that survival does not require constant ease. That you can thrive in the space between breaths. That you are not fragile. You are adaptable. And adaptability is the language of youth. There is a tribe in the high Andes who live past 100 in air so thin most would faint. Their bodies learned generations ago to do more with less. Their mitochondria burn cleaner. Their hearts beat steadier. Their cells waste nothing. You carry that same potential. It is not genetic luck. It is epigenetic memory. And memory can be reactivated. Ancient yogis practiced kumbhaka breath retention not for sport but for transcendence. They knew that in the pause between breaths the mind goes quiet and the body goes deep. Deep into repair, into regeneration, into a state where aging slows and presence expands. They were not mystics. They were biologists working with the only lab they had. Their own breath. But here is the warning. This is not a practice of force. Never hold until you break. Never push past true distress. The goal is not suffering. It is adaptation. And adaptation happens in the space just beyond comfort, not in collapse. Trust the intelligence of your body. It knows the difference between challenge and harm. Start small. Inhale deeply. Hold for 10 seconds longer than feels easy. Exhale fully. Rest. Repeat 5 times. That is enough to begin. Within weeks, your lung capacity will expand. Your resting heart rate will drop. Your sleep will deepen because your body is learning to make every breath count. Even your brain benefits. Hypoxia, when brief and controlled, triggers the release of brain-derived neurotrophic factor BDNF, the miracle molecule that grows new neurons, that sharpens memory, that protects against cognitive decline. You are not just strengthening your lungs. You are fortifying your mind. Imagine a blacksmith forging a blade. The metal must be heated, stressed, folded again and again. What emerges is not weaker. It is unbreakable. You are the metal. Your breath is the fire. And every time you hold past comfort, you are being forged into something that does not break under pressure but bends and returns stronger. So take the next breath not as routine but as ritual. Fill your lungs. Hold the edge. Feel your body awaken to the ancient call. And know that in this simple act of controlled discomfort, you are unlocking a superpower that no pill, no procedure, no protocol can replicate. You are teaching yourself to thrive in scarcity, to bloom in challenge, to become the kind of human who does not merely survive but evolves. And evolution does not ask for comfort. It asks for courage. And you have it. You have always had it. Now breathe and remember. Chapter 21, Glymphatic Night Flush. Every night while you sleep, your brain does something most doctors never told you about. It washes itself. Not metaphorically but literally. Through channels invisible to the naked eye, a river of cerebrospinal fluid floods your brain, flushing out the debris of thought, the residue of stress, the toxic proteins that, if left unchecked, would become the seeds of fog, of forgetfulness, of decay. This is not rest. This is resurrection. And most people are sleeping wrong, missing the very window when their brain could be bathing in its own healing current. The glymphatic system, named after the lymphatic pathways of the body but unique to the brain, operates only in deep sleep. When you finally surrender, when the waves of your consciousness drop into delta, your neurons shrink slightly, pulling apart like curtains opening at dawn. And through that space, fluid rushes, carrying with it amyloid plaques, tau tangles, all the molecular garbage that accumulates during your waking hours. If you never reach that depth, if your sleep is shallow, fractured, interrupted, this cleansing never completes. The toxins linger. They build. They cloud your clarity, steal your memory, dim the light behind your eyes. And you wake tired, not because you did not sleep, but because your brain never got the chance to rinse itself clean. This is why Alzheimer's begins decades before diagnosis. This is why brain fog is epidemic. This is why so many feel as though they are thinking through water. The glymphatic system has been silenced by a world that will not let you sleep deeply. But here is the secret: you can reactivate it tonight. Sleep position matters more than you think. Lying on your side, especially your left, allows the fluid to drain more efficiently through the natural curves of your skull. Ancient traditions knew this. Yogis, monks, desert mystics, they all slept on their sides, not by accident but by instinct. The body has always known how to heal if only we would listen. Temperature is critical. Your brain flushes best when cool. A warm room may feel comfortable, but it keeps you in lighter stages of sleep. A cool room between 60 and 67 degrees invites the deep dive, the delta descent, where the glymphatic gates swing wide. Keep your head cool, your room dark, your mind unburdened. Magnesium glycinate taken an hour before bed does not sedate you. It signals the nervous system to release its grip. It opens the channels gently. It whispers to your cells that the day is over, that it is safe to let go. And in that biochemical sigh, the brain begins its sacred wash. Avoid screens 2 hours before sleep. Blue light is not just stimulating. It is instructive. It tells your brain the sun is still up, that vigilance is required, that the cleaning crew must wait. And so they do, standing idle while toxins pile up in the hallways of your mind. Alcohol may make you drowsy, but it disrupts the architecture of sleep. It keeps you out of REM, out of deep slow-wave sleep. The glymphatic system barely activates. You may close your eyes, but your brain stays dirty. There is an ancient practice from the Tibetan highlands. Before sleep, they would visualize a waterfall inside the skull. Gentle, cool, luminous, washing from crown to base, clearing the pathways, opening the flow. They did not know the science, but they felt the truth. And their elders lived sharp-minded into ages we now call impossible. Fasting in the evening helps as well. Digestion demands energy, pulls resources away from repair. When your gut is quiet, when your liver is not laboring, your brain gets priority. And the glymphatic flow accelerates like a river after the dam is lifted. Dreams are part of the process. Not distractions, but directives. As the brain flushes, it also organizes, filing memories, discarding the irrelevant, reinforcing the meaningful. Deep dreamless sleep clears the clutter. REM sleep integrates the lessons. You need both. And both require surrender. If you wake frequently, if your sleep is restless, ask yourself what you are holding on to. What tension are you carrying into the dark? What unfinished conversation, unspoken truth, unresolved fear is keeping your nervous system on guard? The glymphatic system will not fully open in a body that believes it is still under threat. So tonight, before you close your eyes, do this. Lie on your side. Place one hand on your heart. Breathe slowly, deeply. Whisper to your brain, you are safe, you are allowed to rest, you are allowed to rinse away the day. And then let go. Not into distraction, but into depth. Not into unconsciousness, but into trust. The brain you wake with tomorrow depends on the cleaning that happens tonight. And that cleaning happens only when you stop resisting, when you stop scrolling, when you stop thinking your way through the dark, and finally let the river rise. Your clarity, your memory, your brilliance are not fading because of age. They are fading because you have forgotten how to sleep. And sleep, beloved listener, is not the absence of life. It is the return to it. Chapter 22: Quantum Touch and Biofield Therapies. What if I told you that before a hand ever touches your skin, it has already begun to heal you? What if the space between two bodies is not empty but electric, alive, and capable of transmitting information faster than words, faster than thought? What if healing is not something done to you but something resonated into you by a field you have been taught to ignore? You are not a solid object. You are a cloud of energy held together by intention, by frequency, by the invisible geometry of consciousness. And when another human enters that cloud with presence, with purity, with focused compassion, something undeniable occurs. The field shifts. The body listens. And healing begins before anything physical has even changed. This is not magic. This is physics hidden in plain sight. Your heart generates an electromagnetic field that extends 3 to 6 feet beyond your body in all directions. It is measurable with magnetometers. It pulses with every beat, broadcasting your emotional state, your coherence, your chaos into the space around you. When you stand near someone, your fields overlap. Your rhythms begin to entrain. One nervous system speaks to another in a language older than speech. When a healer, trained or intuitive, enters your field with calm, unwavering presence, your system receives a template. It feels what coherence looks like. And like a tuning fork struck near a silent string, your body begins to hum in response. Not because you were forced, but because resonance is the law. Reiki, Jōrei, therapeutic touch, pranic healing, these are not beliefs. These are practices of intentional field interaction. The hands do not push energy. They invite it. They create space. They hold a frequency of safety. And the body, sensing that safety, drops its armor, opens its channels, and allows the stuck to move, the frozen to thaw, the forgotten to return. There are studies now, peer-reviewed and repeatable, showing that energy healing reduces pain, accelerates wound closure, lowers anxiety, even changes blood chemistry. How? Without touch. Without substance. Because the body does not need to be touched to be reached. It needs to be met in the field where all true communication happens. You carry this ability within you right now. You do not need certification to place your hands over your own heart and breathe warmth into it. You do not need training to hover your palm above a sore joint and imagine light pouring through. You do not need permission to become the healer of your own field. Intention is the conductor. Focus is the voltage. Presence is the bridge. Close your eyes right now. Place both hands over your chest. Feel the warmth rising between your palms and your skin. That warmth is not just heat. It is information. It is your nervous system responding to the signal of care. And care, when offered without agenda, without doubt, becomes medicine that no pill can replicate. Animals know this instinctively. A cat will curl beside a person in pain. A dog will rest its head on a grieving lap. They are not being sweet. They are offering resonance. They are steadying the field. And the person, without knowing why, feels lighter. Babies respond to this faster than anyone else. Because they have not been taught to distrust the unseen. When a mother places her hand on a feverish forehead, she is not just checking temperature. She is offering calm. She is broadcasting safety. And the child system receives it like rain on dry soil. But most adults have been conditioned to mock what they cannot see. To dismiss what cannot be measured by outdated instruments. To call energy work placebo, as if placebo were not itself proof that belief alters biology, that the mind and field are not separate from flesh but woven into it. Healers throughout history did not need labs. They needed sensitivity. They felt the blockages, the cold spots, the places where life had stopped flowing. And they did not attack those places. They sat beside them. They breathed into them. They offered frequency until the body remembered how to move again. You can do this for yourself. Begin with your hands. Rub them together until they tingle. Then pull them apart slowly. Feel the magnetic resistance, the subtle push and pull. That is your field, tangible, real, responsive. Now place those hands wherever you hurt, wherever you feel heavy. And hold them there. Not pressing. Just hovering. Breathing. Intending. And feel what shifts. Skepticism is fine. But do not let it become a wall. Try it once without judgment, without expectation. Just curiosity. And notice. What softens? What warms? What releases? Not because you believed, but because you allowed. The field does not care about your doubt. It only responds to your presence. And presence, when sincere, when focused, when loving, becomes the most potent medicine you will ever encounter. Because it does not come from outside. It rises from the same source that built you in the first place. So the next time you are in pain, the next time you feel disconnected, the next time you wonder if healing is even possible, stop searching outward. Place your hands on your body. Breathe into the space between your palms and your skin. And remember, you are not solid, you are not separate, you are a field of light, and that field has always known how to heal itself. All it ever needed was your attention. Chapter 23: Nutrient Timing for DNA Repair. There is a secret about food that no one tells you. It is not just what you eat. It is when. And the difference between a meal that heals and a meal that harms often comes down to a single hour, to whether your body was ready to receive it or forced to process it at the wrong moment in its ancient cycle. Your DNA does not repair itself randomly. It waits for signals. Signals carried by nutrients, yes, but also by timing, by rhythm, by the alignment of your choices with the invisible clock ticking inside every cell. And when you eat in harmony with that clock, even simple foods become profound activators of renewal. But when you eat against it, when you flood your system at midnight or starve it at dawn, you do not just miss an opportunity. You create interference. You scramble the signal. And your cells, sitting with repair instructions in hand, have no idea when to begin. This is why two people can eat the same diet and age differently. One eats with the sun. The other eats whenever convenience allows. And convenience, beloved listener, is the enemy of regeneration. Morning is when your body wakes hungry for building blocks. Amino acids from protein. Antioxidants from color. Fats that stabilize the brain. This is when cortisol is naturally high, when metabolism is primed, when the liver opens its gates to receive. Your first meal should not be coffee and stress. It should be nourishment aligned with dawn. A signal that says, today we build, today we repair, today we thrive. Vitamin C in the morning supports collagen synthesis, the structural protein that keeps your skin taut, your joints fluid, your blood vessels strong. Berries, citrus, greens. These are not just food. They are messages written in molecules telling your fibroblasts to weave, telling your skin to remember what tautness feels like. Midday is the sun at its peak, and so is your digestive fire. This is when enzymes flow most freely, when stomach acid is strongest, when the body can break down complexity without strain. Heavy proteins, dense fats, cooked roots. These belong here. Not at night when the body is meant to detoxify, not to digest. Omega-3s taken at lunch cross the blood-brain barrier more efficiently, enhancing focus, calming inflammation, sharpening the mind for the second half of the day. Salmon, walnuts, flaxseed. These are not fillers. They are brain fuel delivered at the moment your neurons are most receptive. Evening asks for subtlety, for foods that prepare the body to shift gears. Magnesium-rich greens. Tryptophan from seeds. Polyphenols from berries and herbs. These do not energize. They soothe. They tell your cells the work is done, the sun has set, the repair can begin. And in that biochemical whisper, melatonin rises, autophagy activates, and your DNA begins its nightly edit, removing errors, reinforcing strength, quietly preparing you for another day. Zinc before bed supports immune function overnight. Selenium protects thyroid hormone conversion. Magnesium glycinate opens the glymphatic pathways we spoke of earlier. These are not random recommendations. They are timed interventions aligned with what your body is already trying to do, if only you would stop interrupting it. There are cultures that never needed science to know this. The Okinawans eat their largest meal at midday and finish eating before the sun sets. The Hadza hunter-gatherers fast naturally between dusk and dawn, allowing their bodies to rest, to clean, to recalibrate. Their DNA is not superior. It is simply undisturbed. Even the color of your food speaks in time. Dark greens and purples at night bring cooling energy, preparing the nervous system for rest. Bright oranges and reds in the morning bring warmth, waking the metabolism, aligning the mitochondria with light. This is not superstition. It is chromotherapy encoded in agriculture long before we had words for circadian genes. When you eat late, your body faces a choice. Digest or detox. It cannot do both well. And so it compromises. It half digests, leaving fermentation gas, inflammation. And it half detoxes, leaving toxins to recirculate through your bloodstream, burdening your liver, clouding your mind, aging you from within. But when you align, when you eat with the rhythm your body has been following since before you were born, everything changes. The same foods become more potent. The same nutrients reach deeper. The same effort yields exponential results. Not because you added more, but because you finally stopped working against yourself. So tonight, do not eat after sunset. Tomorrow, break your fast with color, with protein, with fats that sustain. At midday, feast without guilt. And as evening falls, let your plate grow lighter, your portions smaller, your body quieter. This is not restriction. This is respect. And your DNA, which has been waiting for you to remember, will respond not with words but with vitality, with clarity, with a glow that no supplement taken at the wrong hour could ever replicate. Timing is everything. And you, beloved listener, finally have the time on your side. Chapter 24, Detox Pathways 2.0. Your body is not a trash can. It is a river. And rivers do not store waste. They move it, transform it, carry it away. But only when the current flows. And right now in most people that current has slowed to a trickle, choked by a world that produces faster than biology can process. You were designed to detoxify. Mercury from fish was never part of the plan. Plastics in your bloodstream. Pesticides in your fat cells. Electromagnetic fields scrambling your mitochondria. Your detox pathways are ancient, elegant, brilliant. But they are overwhelmed. And unless you actively support them, they will fail, not dramatically but slowly, quietly, until one day the fog does not lift, the fatigue does not fade, and the body begins to break down in ways medicine calls disease but is really just backup. Detoxification happens in two phases, and most people only know about one. Phase 1 transforms toxins, makes them reactive, unstable, ready to leave. But if phase 2 does not complete its job, if it does not neutralize and escort those compounds out, they become more dangerous than when they started. This is why some people feel worse on a cleanse. Why green juice gives them headaches. Why fasting makes them irritable. Their phase 1 is active, but phase 2 is asleep at the wheel. Phase 2 needs sulfur. It needs glycine, glutathione, methyl donors. These come from cruciferous vegetables, from bone broth, from bitter greens, from foods most modern diets have abandoned in favor of convenience. And convenience, remember, is the enemy. Your liver is the hero of this story. Working every second, filtering every drop of blood, transforming fat-soluble toxins into water-soluble waste. But it cannot do this alone. It needs the kidneys to flush the lymph, to drain the skin, to sweat the lungs, to exhale the gut, to release. When one system clogs, the others compensate until they too begin to fail. Lymph is the forgotten river. It has no pump, no heart to push it forward. It relies on you, on your movement, your breath, your willingness to get up and move. Rebounding, walking, dry brushing, deep belly breathing. These are not luxuries. They are necessities. If your lymph stagnates, toxins pool, inflammation rises, and your immune system begins attacking shadows. Your skin is not decoration. It is your largest organ of elimination. 2 million sweat glands waiting to purge what the liver could not break down. Saunas are not indulgence. They are activation. 15 minutes of heat opens pores, dilates vessels, mobilizes stored toxins from fat tissue and sends them out through sweat. Ancient cultures built their lives around this. Greeks, Romans, Scandinavians, Native Americans. They knew what we forgot. That heat is medicine. But sweating is not enough. You must replace what you lose. Minerals. Electrolytes. The salts of life. Without them, your cells cannot communicate, your nerves cannot fire, your detox pathways lose their currency, and the toxins you worked so hard to mobilize simply recirculate. Hydration is the foundation, but not all water hydrates. Plain water without structure, without minerals, flows through like a ghost. Add a pinch of sea salt, a squeeze of lemon, a drop of trace minerals, and suddenly that water carries charge. It enters the cell. It communicates. It flushes. The lungs exhale more than carbon dioxide. They release volatile organic compounds, ammonia, metabolic waste. Every deep exhale is a purge. Every sigh a reset. Conscious breathwork is detoxification in real time. 4 counts in, hold for 4, 8 counts out. Repeat for 5 minutes and you have just cleared more than most cleansers ever will. The gut is the gatekeeper. If your intestinal lining is compromised, if it leaks, toxins slip back into your bloodstream no matter how clean you eat. Bone broth repairs that lining. Collagen seals the gaps. Probiotics restore the guardians. Fiber sweeps the colon. Bitters stimulate bile. And bile is the vehicle that carries fat-soluble toxins out of your liver into your intestines and finally out of your body. But if you are constipated, if you do not move your bowels at least once a day, those toxins are reabsorbed back into your system. This is called enterohepatic recirculation, and it is one of the most overlooked causes of chronic illness. Your body is trying to detox, but you are not letting it leave. Bitters are the missing flavor. Dandelion, arugula, radicchio, gentian. These activate bile flow, stimulate digestion, wake up phase 2 enzymes. Our ancestors ate bitter foods daily. We have bred them out in favor of sweet and salty, and our detox pathways have gone quiet. Fasting is the ultimate detox. Not because it starves you, but because it gives your body permission to stop digesting and start cleaning. 12 hours is the minimum. 16 is powerful. 24 once a week is transformational. But only if your pathways are open. If they are clogged, fasting just stirs the pot without emptying it. So open them first. Move daily. Sweat weekly. Breathe deeply. Eat bitters. Hydrate with minerals. Sleep on your side. Support your gut. And then fast. And watch as the river begins to flow again, as the fog lifts, as the energy returns, as your body remembers what it feels like to be clean. You are not detoxing to be perfect. You are detoxing to be free. Free from the weight you carry that is not fat but stored emotions, stored chemicals, stored years of compromise. And when that weight is gone, when the pathways are clear, you do not just feel better. You become lighter, sharper, brighter. More yourself than you have been in years. The river is waiting. It has always been waiting. All you had to do was remove the dam. Chapter 25. Hormesis. Thriving on stress. There is a lie you have been told your entire life. That comfort equals health. That ease equals strength. That if you could just eliminate all stress, all discomfort, all challenge, then your body would finally thrive. But the body knows better. The body was built in fire, forged in pressure, sculpted by forces that did not ask permission. And deep in your cellular memory, there is a wisdom that whispers the truth. You do not grow in comfort. You grow at the edge. What if I told you that the very thing you have been avoiding is the one thing your biology has been begging for? Not chronic stress, not the kind that crushes and depletes, but brief, intelligent, targeted pressure, followed by deep rest. This is hormesis, the sacred alchemy where poison becomes medicine, where challenge becomes catalyst, where temporary discomfort unlocks permanent adaptation. Your ancestors did not live in climate-controlled rooms. They faced cold that bit through skin. They endured heat that made the air shimmer. They walked until their legs burned and fasted when food was scarce. And their bodies did not break. They became resilient. Not because they were tougher, but because stress, when dosed correctly, is the greatest teacher your cells will ever know. When you plunge into cold water for 60 seconds, your body does not panic. It remembers. It activates ancient pathways that were dormant, waiting for this exact signal. Brown fat ignites, burning energy as heat. Norepinephrine floods your system, sharpening focus, calming inflammation. Cold shock proteins are released, protecting your brain from decay. This is not torture. This is awakening. The body saying, yes, I remember this. I know what to do. Heat works the same way. When you sit in a sauna, when sweat pours from every pore, when your heart beats faster and your skin flushes red, you are not just relaxing. You are stressing your system in the most intelligent way possible. Heat shock proteins are synthesized. These molecular guardians repair damaged proteins, refold what was broken, protect what is vulnerable. Your cardiovascular system adapts. Blood vessels dilate and contract like muscles being trained. Toxins are mobilized and released through your skin. And when you step out into cool air, your body does not just return to baseline. It returns stronger. Even exercise, when done correctly, is a form of stress. You tear muscle fibers. You deplete glycogen stores. You push your heart and lungs beyond their comfort zone. And in the recovery, in the rest that follows, the body does not simply repair. It overcompensates. It builds back stronger, denser, more efficient. This is adaptation. This is how you evolve, not through ease, but through intelligent challenge. Fasting is another doorway. When you abstain from food for 12, 16, even 24 hours, you are not starving. You are signaling. The body stops its constant work of digestion and shifts into repair mode. Autophagy accelerates. Damaged cells are recycled. Inflammation drops. Growth hormone rises. Insulin sensitivity improves. The body realizes it must become more efficient, and so it does. Not through adding more, but through refining what is already there. But here is the secret that most people miss. Hormesis only works when followed by recovery. The stress must be brief. The rest must be deep. You cannot live at the edge. You can only visit it, touch it, learn from it, and then return. Fire without rest becomes destruction. Cold without warmth becomes numbness. Movement without stillness becomes injury. The rhythm is everything. Stress then recover. Challenge then rest. Break down then build. This is the pulse of life itself. There is a reason ancient warriors trained in extremes but also rested deeply. Why monks fasted but also feasted. Why shamans endured vision quests but returned to community. They understood that transformation happens not in the fire, but in the cooling after. Not in the effort, but in the surrender that follows. The body does not change during the challenge. It changes in the space after, when you give it permission to adapt. Your mitochondria, the power centers of your cells, respond to this rhythm. When stressed briefly, they multiply. They become more efficient. They learn to produce more energy with less waste. But if the stress never ends, if the pressure is constant, they burn out. They fail. And so do you. The key is pacing. The key is knowing when to push and when to yield. Even your DNA listens to this language. Genes that were dormant awaken under brief stress. Protective genes. Anti-aging genes. Repair genes. They turn on not because you forced them, but because you asked them correctly. You gave them the signal they were designed to respond to. And they answered. So what does this mean for you? It means stop avoiding discomfort. Start befriending it. Take a cold shower for 30 seconds and feel your entire nervous system recalibrate. Sit in a sauna until sweat drips from your fingertips. Fast until you feel the gentle hum of cellular repair. Move your body until your breath quickens and your muscles burn. And then rest. Deeply. Completely. Without guilt. This is not punishment. This is partnership. This is you speaking the ancient language your body has always understood. The language of fire and ice, of effort and ease, of challenge met and recovery honored. And when you learn to speak this language, when you stop hiding from stress and start dancing with it, you do not just survive. You thrive. Your body stops aging in the way you were told it must. It stops breaking down without reason. It remembers what it was built for. Not safety, not comfort, not endless ease, but intelligent adaptation, rhythmic challenge, sacred resilience. And in that remembering, you become not what you were, but what you were always meant to be. Unbreakable, not because nothing can hurt you, but because everything that challenges you makes you stronger. Chapter 26, Nano Movement and Fascia Fitness. You have been lied to about what movement is. You were told it is exercise. Reps and sets. Sweat and strain. The harder the better. The more the merrier. But your body does not speak that language. Your body speaks in whispers, in micro-adjustments, in the smallest shifts that no one sees but everything feels. There is a web inside you more intelligent than your brain, older than your bones, and it is listening not to how much you move but to how you move. This web is your fascia. A living matrix that wraps every muscle, every organ, every nerve in a seamless network of communication. It is not separate tissue. It is the tissue that connects all tissue. And it remembers everything. Every injury you ignored. Every tension you stored. Every emotion you swallowed. It holds them all in its fibers, waiting for you to finally listen. Fascia does not respond to force. It responds to presence. You do not need to push harder. You need to feel deeper. A tiny movement done with awareness does more than 1,000 reps done on autopilot. When you roll your shoulder slowly, feeling every millimeter of motion, you are not just moving a joint. You are speaking to the fascia, asking it to release, to soften, to remember what flow feels like. There is a dancer who healed a decade of chronic pain not through therapy, not through surgery, but by spending 5 minutes each morning circling her wrists. Her doctors laughed. Her friends were confused. But she felt something they could not measure. With each slow spiral, the fascia in her wrists began to unwind. And that unwinding traveled up her arms, across her shoulders, down her spine. Until one day, the pain that had lived in her lower back for years simply disappeared. Not because she fixed her back, but because she honored the web. Your fascia is a sensory organ. It has more nerve endings than your skin. It feels before you think. It knows before you decide. When you move mindfully, when you breathe into a stretch, when you pause and feel the subtle shifts happening beneath your awareness, you are not exercising. You are communicating. And the fascia listens. It softens. It releases. It begins to flow again like water that was frozen and is finally thawing. Modern life has made you stiff. Not because you are weak, but because you have stopped moving in spirals. You move in straight lines. Forward and back. Up and down. But life does not move that way. Life spirals. Life curves. Life undulates. Your DNA is a spiral. Your heart beats in a spiral. Even your thoughts, when left alone, move in spirals. And when you return to that pattern, when you let your body sway and circle and wave, the fascia remembers, and everything begins to heal. Try this right now. Sit where you are and begin to rock gently side to side. Not big movements. Tiny shifts, barely visible. Feel your weight move from one sit bone to the other. Notice how your spine responds, how your breath changes, how something inside begins to soften. This is nano movement. This is the language your fascia understands. And in this simplicity, something profound is happening. Hydration is returning to tissue that was dry. Information is flowing through channels that were blocked. The web is remembering how to be alive. Fascia holds water, but not like a sponge. Like a gel. And that gel only stays fluid when you move it. When you are still for too long, it hardens. It becomes sticky, restricted, painful. But the moment you introduce motion, even the smallest motion, the gel begins to liquefy. Tension melts. Stiffness dissolves. Pain fades. Not because you forced anything, but because you allowed everything. There are traditions older than medicine that understood this. Tai Chi with its slow, spiraling movements. Qigong with its gentle sways. Yoga, not the Instagram version, but the original practice of mindful exploration. These were never about fitness. They were about fascia, about restoring the web, about moving in ways so subtle that the mind could not interfere and the body could finally speak. Even trauma lives in the fascia. The memory of what hurt you does not just live in your mind. It lives in your tissue, in the tightness of your hips, the knot in your shoulder, the chronic ache in your jaw. And no amount of talking will release it. But movement can. The right kind of movement. Slow, gentle, spiraling, present. When you move this way, you are not just stretching. You are unwinding stories you did not even know you were holding. Hydration is not just about water. It is about motion. Fascia delivers water through your body, through tension and release, through compression and expansion. When you move fluidly, when you breathe deeply, when you allow your body to undulate and sway, you are hydrating yourself from the inside out. You are becoming a river again, instead of a dam. So forget what you were taught about exercise. Forget the gym if it does not call you. Forget the pain. Forget the pushing. Instead, begin to explore. Begin to feel. Roll your ankles slowly. Circle your hips like a figure 8. Tilt your head and let it float in space. Move so small that no one watching would even notice. And in that smallness, discover the vastness. The space between your cells beginning to open. The web beginning to breathe. The body remembering that it was never meant to be tight. It was meant to be fluid. This is not weakness. This is wisdom. This is you returning to the blueprint, not of strength, but of flow. And in that flow, you will find something no amount of force could ever give you. Freedom from pain. Ease in your body. Grace in your movement. And a quiet knowing that healing does not come from doing more. It comes from feeling more deeply. And when you feel, the fascia listens. And when the fascia listens, everything changes. Chapter 27. Electrical Nutrition. Minerals and Electrolytes. You are not solid. You are a storm. A living lightning bolt wrapped in skin. Every thought, every heartbeat, every breath is an electrical event. And the currency of that electricity is not willpower. It is minerals. Without them, you are not low energy. You are unplugged. This is the secret no one tells you. Fatigue is not always tiredness. Fog is not always lack of sleep. That headache that will not quit. That sudden drop in mood. That sense that your body is dragging through mud. These are not character flaws. They are electrical failures. Your circuits are misfiring, not because you are broken, but because you are missing the conductors, the elements that allow the current to flow. Sodium, potassium, calcium, magnesium. These are not just nutrients. They are switches. Without sodium, your nerves cannot fire. Without potassium, your heart cannot beat. Without calcium, your muscles cannot contract. Without magnesium, they cannot release. You are not a body that needs food. You are a body that needs charge. And charge requires the elements of the earth, dissolved in your blood, conducting the symphony of life. When you sweat, you lose more than water. You lose signal. Every drop that leaves your skin carries with it the very minerals that allow your cells to communicate. And when those minerals are gone, the messages stop. The brain sends a command, but the body does not receive it. You feel weak, scattered, disconnected. Not because you are dehydrated, but because you are de-electrified. Table salt will not save you. It is stripped, bleached, emptied of everything that made it alive. But real salt, sea salt, Himalayan salt, ancient salt pulled from the earth, carries more than sodium. It carries trace elements. Minerals your body recognizes from the time before cities, before processing, before we forgot that we are made of the same elements as the ocean. A pinch of real salt in your water is not seasoning. It is reconnection. Magnesium is the mineral of letting go. It is the exhale made molecular. When you are stressed, magnesium is the first to leave. It pours out of your cells like water through a broken dam. And without it, everything tightens. Your muscles clench. Your thoughts spiral. Your sleep becomes shallow and restless. You can meditate. You can breathe. You can try to relax. But if your magnesium is depleted, your body does not have the material it needs to soften. There are different forms, and each one speaks a different language. Magnesium glycinate for sleep. Magnesium threonate for the brain. Magnesium malate for energy. Listen to your body. It will tell you which one it needs. Not through words, but through how you feel when you take it. Does your sleep deepen? Does your mind quiet? Does your energy return? Trust that. Even your bones are electrical. They are not inert structures holding you upright. They are batteries, storing minerals, generating current with every step you take. Calcium and phosphorus create a crystalline matrix that responds to pressure. When you move, when you walk, when you jump, your bones generate piezoelectric charge. This charge signals your cells to build, to repair, to strengthen. But if your minerals are depleted, the signal weakens. The bones become brittle, not because of age, but because of silence. Zinc is the quiet guardian. It does not announce itself, but without it your immune system falters. Your skin loses its glow. Your senses dull. A deficiency in zinc can make food taste like cardboard, can make wounds heal slowly, can make you feel like a shadow of yourself. And most people are deficient, not because they do not eat, but because the soil is depleted, because the food is processed, because the modern world has severed the connection between body and earth. Trace minerals are the hidden orchestra. Selenium, boron, iodine, molybdenum. You will never feel them directly, but their absence echoes. Hair thins. Nails crack. Energy fades. Mood dips. These are not separate problems. They are one problem. The elements are missing. And no amount of superfoods or supplements will help if the foundation is not there. Your heart is a magnetic drum, beating rhythm into your entire electromagnetic field. And every beat is guided by the dance of ions across membranes. Sodium rushing in. Potassium rushing out. Calcium sparking contraction. Magnesium allowing release. This is not biology. This is electricity. And if the charge is wrong, if the balance is off, the rhythm falters. And you feel it. Not just in your chest, but in your entire being. Water without minerals is not hydration. It is just liquid passing through. Add minerals, and suddenly it transforms. It gains structure. It enters the cell. It communicates. And your tissues respond. Your skin glows. Your mind sharpens. Your energy stabilizes. Not because you drank more, but because you drank better. So stop ignoring the signs. Stop pushing through the fog. Stop accepting fatigue as normal. Your body is not lazy. It is not weak. It is trying to run on an empty battery. And all it needs is the charge. The elements, the minerals of the earth, return to the water of your body. And when that happens, when the circuit closes, when the current flows again, you do not just feel better. You remember what it feels like to be alive. Fully. Electrically. Undeniably alive. Chapter 28. Visualizing Cellular Renewal. What if I told you that the most powerful medicine you will ever take is not a pill? It is an image. What if the key to healing your body is not in your doctor's office, but in the quiet theater of your mind, where imagination and biology meet and blur into one? Your cells do not know the difference between what you see with your eyes and what you see with your mind. In brain scans, the same regions light up whether you perform an action or vividly imagine it. This is not metaphor. This is neuroscience. Your body responds to vision as if it were reality. And when you learn to wield that power, when you learn to paint healing into your inner landscape, your biology does not question it. It obeys. Close your eyes right now. Picture a golden light forming at the crown of your head. Warm, gentle, alive. See it begin to descend slowly, moving through your brain, bathing every neuron in luminous energy. Feel it move into your throat, your chest, your belly. With each breath it grows brighter, spreading into your arms, your legs, your fingertips. You are not pretending. You are programming. And your cells are listening. There is a woman who was told she would never walk again. A car accident had shattered her spine. The doctors showed her the scans, explained the damage, prepared her for a life in a wheelchair. But every night before sleep, she did something they did not teach in medical school. She closed her eyes and saw herself walking. She felt her legs strong beneath her. She imagined every step, every muscle firing, every nerve reconnecting. She did this for months. And one day, against all logic, against all probability, she stood. And then she walked. The scans had not lied. But her mind had rewritten the ending. Athletes have known this for decades. Before a race, they see themselves winning. They feel the speed, the power, the finish line. They do not hope. They rehearse in the mind. And the body follows. Because to the nervous system, the visualization is the first draft of reality. And the body begins preparing long before the starting gun fires. You can do this for anything. Pain, fatigue, disease, even aging itself. Picture your immune cells as radiant warriors, moving through your bloodstream, finding what does not belong and gently escorting it out. See your mitochondria glowing brighter with every breath, producing energy effortlessly, endlessly. Watch your telomeres, the timekeepers at the ends of your chromosomes, lengthen and strengthen as you flood them with light and intention. This is not wishful thinking. This is cellular communication. Guided imagery has been shown to reduce pain, improve immune response, accelerate recovery, lower blood pressure. The placebo effect is not proof that people are gullible. It is proof that belief is biology. That the mind does not sit outside the body observing. It sits inside, co-creating, directing, shaping every moment. Color matters. Some healers speak of green for healing, blue for calm, violet for transformation, gold for vitality. You do not need to follow rules. You need to follow resonance. What color feels like healing to you? Trust that. Let your body choose its own medicine. Let your imagination become the pharmacy. Pair this with breath. Inhale and see light entering. Exhale and see darkness leaving. Tension, toxins, old stories that no longer serve. Let them pour out with every breath until all that remains is clarity. Lightness, the pure hum of a body remembered. There are indigenous traditions where healers do not touch the body. They close their eyes and journey inward. They see the illness as a shadow and they imagine light dissolving it. They speak to the organs as if they were alive, because they are. They thank the heart for its rhythm, the lungs for their breath, the liver for its endless work. And the organs respond, not with words, but with function, with balance, with vitality restored. You do not need a guide. You do not need permission. You only need 5 minutes of stillness and the willingness to see yourself not as broken, but as becoming. Picture your cells dividing perfectly. DNA replicating without error. Skin glowing with health. Joints moving with ease. Energy flowing freely from crown to soul. This is not fantasy. This is rehearsal. And your body, brilliant and obedient, will follow the script you give it. So tonight, before sleep, do not scroll. Do not worry. Do not replay the problems of the day. Instead, close your eyes and build your healing. Construct it image by image, breath by breath. See your body as you want it to be. See yourself vibrant, whole, alive. And do not ask if it is real. Ask instead, what happens if I believe? And then watch as the body answers, not with doubt, but with transformation, quiet, profound, and utterly real. Chapter 29. Social Resonance and Longevity. You have been told a dangerous lie. That you can heal alone, that strength is solitary, that the path to wellness is walked in isolation. But your body knows the truth, buried deep in every cell, in every heartbeat, in every breath. You were never designed to survive alone. You are a tuning fork, and you need other tuning forks around you to remember your frequency. There is a village on a small island where people live past 100, not because of medicine, not because of genetics, but because of something science ignored for too long. They eat together every single day. They sing to each other when someone is sick. They do not let anyone grieve alone, mourn alone, or celebrate alone. And their telomeres, the tiny clocks at the end of every chromosome, stay longer than they should. Their bodies do not understand the concept of lonely, because loneliness was never written into their code. When you sit across from someone you trust, when you look into their eyes and feel seen, something extraordinary happens. Your heart rate synchronizes with theirs. Your breath matches theirs. Without a word, without effort, your nervous systems begin to communicate in a language older than speech. This is not connection. This is co-regulation. You are not just bonding. You are healing each other at a cellular level. Oxytocin, the molecule of trust, floods your bloodstream, not only during touch, but during presence. During a conversation where you do not have to perform. During a silence that does not demand filling. Your cortisol drops. Your inflammation decreases. Your immune cells sharpen, as if they have been given new instructions. And those instructions are simple. You are not alone. You are safe. You can heal now. But here is what no one tells you. Toxic relationships do the opposite. They do not just hurt your feelings. They hurt your biology. When you are around people who drain you, judge you, manipulate you, your body goes into a state of chronic defense. Your heart rate becomes erratic. Your digestion shuts down. Your cells stop repairing because all energy is diverted to survival. And over time, that survival mode becomes your identity. You forget what ease feels like. You must choose your circle like you choose your food. Because the people you spend time with are feeding you frequencies. And frequencies become chemistry. And chemistry becomes your state of being. If you are surrounded by fear, you will embody fear. If you are surrounded by peace, your cells will drink from that well. The body does not lie. It knows who nourishes it and who depletes it. There is an old practice from the mountains of Peru where healers do not treat individuals. They treat relationships. They ask, who are you in conflict with? Who have you not forgiven? Who is the ghost in your nervous system still pulling strings? And then they create ceremonies, not of healing the body, but of healing the bond. Because they know that unresolved relationship tension lives in the tissue as pain, as disease, as blockages that no herb can touch. Forgiveness is not spiritual fluff. It is biological release. When you forgive, not for the other person, but for yourself, you are literally unhooking from a stress loop that has been running in the background, draining your energy, shortening your life. You do not have to forget. You do not have to reconcile. But you must release the charge, or it will consume you from within. Laughter is medicine. Not the polite kind. The kind that makes your belly ache. The kind that brings tears to your eyes. When you laugh deeply, truly, your diaphragm massages your organs. Your lungs expand fully. Endorphins flood your system. Natural killer cells, the warriors of your immune system, multiply. And for those few seconds, you are not thinking about your problems. You are not trapped in time. You are fully alive. And aliveness is the greatest healer. Communities that pray together, that move together, that share meals and stories outlive isolated individuals by decades, not because of magic, but because of resonance. When a group of people align in intention, in rhythm, in purpose, their biofields merge. They create a collective coherence that amplifies healing in every individual within it. You become stronger not by isolating, but by harmonizing. So ask yourself, who do you feel safe with? Who sees you without needing you to be different? Who can sit with you in silence and it feels like home? These are not just friends. They are your longevity partners. Your nervous system knows them. Your cells recognize their frequency. And in their presence, you do not have to try so hard to be well. You just are. If you are alone now, if you feel disconnected, know this. It only takes one true connection to shift everything. One person who listens without fixing. One moment of being witnessed without judgment. Start there. Reach out. Write a letter. Sit beside someone in stillness. You are not meant to be an island. You are meant to be part of an archipelago. And when you find your people, when you let yourself be held by presence, the body exhales, the countdown slows, and life begins to feel not like survival, but like a song sung in harmony. Chapter 30. Silence and Sensory Reset. The world is trying to kill you with noise. Not the loud kind. The constant kind. The hum of devices, the scroll of screens, the ping of notifications, the endless stream of voices, opinions, disasters, and distractions. Your nervous system was not built for this. It was built for cycles of sound and silence, of input and rest. But you have been living in a state of sensory siege for so long, you have forgotten what quiet feels like. And that forgetting is stealing your life. Your brain is drowning. Every day it is bombarded with more information than your ancestors processed in a lifetime. And it is not just information. It is urgency. Everything is breaking news. Everything demands a response. Everything pulls you out of your body and into a reactive loop. And the cost is not just mental. It is physical. Your adrenals are exhausted. Your gut is inflamed. Your sleep is shallow, because even when you close your eyes, the noise is still there, echoing in your cells. Silence is not the absence of sound. It is the presence of space. And in that space, something ancient awakens. Your prefrontal cortex, the part of your brain responsible for decision-making, creativity, healing, finally gets a chance to come online. When you remove the noise, even for 10 minutes, the brain begins to reorganize. It clears out mental debris. It processes emotions you did not even know you were holding. It reconnects to the body. And the body breathes. There is a monastery deep in the mountains where monks take vows of silence, not as punishment, but as practice. They do not speak for days, sometimes weeks. And what happens is not isolation. It is integration. Without the constant need to explain, defend, or perform, they sink into a deeper layer of themselves. Their heart rates drop. Their brain waves shift into theta, the frequency of deep meditation and healing. They do not become less human. They become more present. And presence is where all healing begins. Your senses are overloaded. Every color, every sound, every screen, every scent is competing for your attention. And your body is trying to process it all. But it cannot. It was never designed to. And so it starts to shut down. You become numb, desensitized. Nothing tastes as good. Nothing feels as vivid. You are living in a muted version of reality because your system has turned down the volume just to survive. The reset is simple, but not easy. Turn it off. Step away. Put the phone in another room. Walk without headphones. Sit without distraction. Let yourself be bored. Let yourself feel the discomfort of stillness. Because on the other side of that discomfort is clarity. And clarity is the doorway to transformation. Nature knows this silence intimately. A forest does not shout. A river does not explain itself. The wind moves without announcing its arrival. And when you place yourself in that field, your nervous system remembers. Oh yes, this is the frequency I was built for. The parasympathetic system activates. The fight or flight response mellows. Cortisol drops. Inflammation decreases. Digestion returns. You are not doing anything. You are simply allowing. There is a practice from the desert mystics called the silence between breaths. After you exhale, before you inhale, there is a pause. And in that pause, if you listen deeply enough, you can hear the hum of your own aliveness. It is not a sound. It is a vibration, a resonance that has been there all along, buried beneath the noise. And when you touch it, even for a second, everything shifts. You remember you are not your thoughts. You are the space in which thoughts arise. Even your dreams are louder now, filled with the residue of the day, scrolling, replaying, looping. Because your brain never got a chance to rest, to sort, to release. Deep sleep requires deep quiet. Not just in the room, but in the mind. And if you go to bed overstimulated, the body cannot complete its repair cycles. The glymphatic system, the brain's waste removal network, does not fully activate. Memory consolidation falters. Emotional regulation weakens. You wake up tired, not because you did not sleep, but because you never truly rested. So tonight, try this. 1 hour before bed, no screens. No news. No scroll. Just dim light. Soft sounds or silence. A warm drink. A slow breath. Let your system wind down like the sun setting, not abruptly, but gradually. And notice how sleep changes, how dreams deepen, how you wake not with alarm, but with ease. Silence is not empty. It is full. Full of presence, of potential, of the quiet intelligence that has been trying to reach you all along. And when you finally stop long enough to listen, it does not whisper. It floods. And in that flood, you remember who you were before the world told you who to be. And that remembering is not just healing. It is resurrection. Chapter 31, Purpose-Driven Genetics. You think your DNA is fixed. You think the blueprint was written at birth and you are simply walking out a script someone else authored. But that is the greatest lie ever told, to keep you small, to keep you stuck, to keep you from realizing the single most dangerous truth. You hold the pen. Your genes are listening right now. Not to what you say, but to what you mean. Not to your goals, but to your reason for waking up. Every single day, your cells are asking one question. Why are we here? And depending on your answer, they either build or they break down. They either protect or they decay. Purpose is not philosophy. It is molecular instruction. There was a study done on people who survived concentration camps. The ones who made it were not the strongest or the healthiest. They were the ones who had a reason to survive, a child waiting for them. A story they needed to tell. A promise they refused to break. Their bodies defied starvation, disease, brutality, not because of luck, but because their cells received a signal louder than death. We are not done yet. And that signal kept them alive when everything else said they should be gone. When you have no purpose, your body interprets that as permission to shut down. Inflammation rises. Depression deepens. Chronic illness takes root, not because you are weak, but because your biology is confused. It does not know what it is fighting for. And without a fight, without a direction, the system starts to decay. It is not giving up on you. It is simply following your lead. But the moment you find your why, even if it is small, even if it is quiet, everything changes. Gene expression shifts. Stress hormones stabilize. Immune function sharpens. You do not suddenly become invincible, but you become resilient. And resilience is the difference between surviving and thriving, between aging and evolving. Your purpose does not have to be grand. It does not have to change the world. It just has to matter to you. Caring for a garden. Writing a letter. Being there for one person. Creating something that did not exist before. These are not small things. They are signals. And every time you act on them, you are telling your cells, we have work to do. Keep going. There are blue zones around the world where people live past 100 with clarity, vitality, and joy. And researchers searched for the common thread. Was it diet? Was it exercise? Was it genes? What they found was something deeper. Every single person had a reason to get up in the morning. The Japanese call it ikigai, reason for being. And it is not retirement. It is not rest. It is a sense of contribution, of mattering, of being woven into something larger than yourself. When that thread is cut, when someone retires and loses their identity, when a loved one dies and the reason fades, the body often follows. Not because of age, but because of aimlessness. The system begins to wind down. Telomeres shorten faster. Cellular repair slows. The heart loses its rhythm. Because the message it is receiving is, we are no longer needed. But you can reverse this. Not by forcing positivity or faking passion, but by reconnecting to what makes you feel alive. It might be buried. It might be forgotten. It might be something you have not let yourself want in years. But it is there. And your job is not to create it. It is to uncover it. Start by asking, what would I do if I knew I could not fail? What breaks my heart? What lights me up? What do I want to leave behind? These are not selfish questions. They are survival questions. Because the answer to them will fuel your biology in ways no supplement ever could. Even in illness, even in pain, purpose becomes the anchor. A woman with stage 4 cancer was told she had months. She decided to finish a quilt for her granddaughter. Not because she believed it would heal her, but because it gave her something to wake up for. And the months stretched. The disease slowed. And though her body eventually surrendered, she lived longer and fuller than anyone expected. Because her cells were following a mission. And mission overrides prognosis every time. You are not here by accident. You are not filler in someone else's story. You are the author, and the cells are waiting for the next chapter. So write it. Not someday. Not when you are ready. Now. Because your biology does not wait for perfect conditions. It responds to present intention. And intention, when clear, when rooted, when lived every single day, becomes the code that rewrites everything. Your DNA is not your destiny. It is your potential. And purpose is the key that unlocks it. So find your reason. Speak it. Live it. Let it move through you like breath. And watch as the body you thought was failing begins to remember what it was built for. Not decay, not decline, but contribution. And in that remembering, you do not just heal. You become eternal. Chapter 32, Light as Information. You have been taught that light is just brightness, that the sun is just weather, that what touches your skin is only warmth. But light is not passive. It is data. It is instruction. It is the oldest language your cells speak fluently. And every morning when the sun rises, it is not just lighting the world. It is programming you. Your eyes are not just for seeing. They are portals. The moment light enters your retina, it sends a cascade of signals through your brain, to your hypothalamus, to your pineal gland, to every hormone system in your body. It tells your cortisol when to rise. It tells your melatonin when to fall. It sets the rhythm of your entire day. And when you miss that light, when you wake up in artificial glow or stay inside all day, your body loses the script. It does not know what time it is, what season it is, whether to build or break down. This is why you feel off, why your sleep is broken, why your energy crashes mid-afternoon. It is not because you are broken. It is because you are out of sync. And the sync does not come from a supplement or a routine. It comes from light. Raw, unfiltered morning light hitting your eyes within the first hour of waking. There was a tribe that lived in the Arctic where the sun disappeared for months every winter. And yet they did not fall into despair or disease the way modern humans do under artificial light. Why? Because they honored the darkness. They rested deeply. They slowed completely. They did not fight the cycle. They lived it. And when the sun returned, they erupted with energy, with celebration, with life. Their biology was not confused. It was in rhythm. But you live in a world that denies rhythm. Electric lights keep you awake past sunset. Screens flood your eyes with blue light at midnight, telling your brain it is noon. Your circadian clock is not just off. It is shattered. And the cost is not just tiredness. It is systemic. Insulin resistance rises. Cancer risk increases. Inflammation becomes chronic. Depression takes root. All because you are living in a light environment your DNA does not recognize. Red light is medicine. Not the kind you buy in a clinic, though that helps too. But the red and infrared spectrum that pours from the sun at dawn and dusk. These wavelengths penetrate deep into tissue. They activate mitochondria, the power plants of your cells. They stimulate collagen repair, skin tone, reduce pain, increase circulation. This is not alternative healing. This is physics. Your cells are built to receive this frequency. And when they do, they thrive. Even your skin is solar-powered. Vitamin D is just the beginning. When sunlight touches your skin, it triggers a cascade: nitric oxide production, serotonin release, immune activation, melanin adaptation. You are not just getting tan. You are being recalibrated. And the more you hide from the sun, the more you starve your system of one of its primary inputs. But here is the secret that changes everything. You are also made of light. Biophotons, weak emissions of light, radiate from every cell in your body. They are not metaphorical. They are measurable. And the coherence of that light reflects your health, your vitality, your state of being. When you are stressed, those photons scatter. When you are in flow, they align. And the fastest way to bring them into alignment is exposure to natural light. Ancient temples were not just architecture. They were light chambers, designed to capture specific angles of sunlight at solstices and equinoxes. The light would enter at precise moments, illuminating altars, statues, inner sanctums. And the people believed, and maybe they were right, that this light carried healing. Not because it was magic, but because it was information. The kind their biology was starving for. You are disconnected. Not from spirit, but from spectrum. You have replaced the sun with LEDs, the moon with screens, the rhythm of day and night with the flatness of constant artificial glow. And your cells are confused. They are trying to heal in an environment that is lying to them about what time it is, what season it is, whether it is safe to rest or time to fight. The reset is free. Step outside. Face the sun. Close your eyes and let the light touch your eyelids for 2 minutes. Do this every morning. Do this before you check your phone, before you start your day. And watch what happens. Your mood stabilizes. Your energy returns. Your sleep deepens. Not because you added something, but because you reconnected to the original signal. At dusk, do it again. Let the red light of sunset touch your skin. Signal to your body that the day is ending, that it is time to wind down, to prepare for repair. This is not routine. This is ritual. And ritual, when rooted in biology, becomes the most powerful medicine you will ever practice. You are not separate from the cosmos. You are an extension of it. And the light that birthed the stars is the same light that fuels your cells. So stop hiding. Step into it. Let it touch you, teach you, transform you. And as you do, you will begin to glow. Not with imagination, but with biophotonic truth. And that glow will not just be seen. It will be felt by every person who stands near you. Because you will no longer be dim. You will be lit from within. And that light is not just health. It is remembrance. It is homecoming. It is you finally returning to the frequency you were born from. Conclusion: the eternal awakening. You have reached the end of this book, but not the end of the journey. The words stop here, but the code does not. It lives in you now, humming quietly beneath your skin, waiting for you to stop reading and start becoming. Everything you have heard in these pages is not theory. It is truth, buried beneath decades of forgetting. You were never meant to age the way you have been told. You were never meant to decay without resistance, to accept disease as random, to surrender your vitality to time as if time were the enemy. It is not. Time is neutral. But how you move through it, how you breathe within it, how you align with its rhythm, that is everything. You are not a victim of biology. You are its author. Every breath you take, every thought you think, every choice you make is a line of code being written into your cells. And those cells do not judge. They do not question. They simply obey. Show them chaos and they will mirror it. Show them coherence and they will sing it back to you, amplified. The ancient ones knew this. They did not have labs or microscopes, but they had presence. They had rhythm. They had connection, to the earth, to each other, to the light. And in that connection, they unlocked what we are only now beginning to remember through science, that the body is not a machine to be fixed, but a symphony to be conducted. And you are holding the baton. So what now? What do you do with this knowledge? You begin. You begin with one breath deeper than the last. You begin with one morning greeting the sun. You begin with one meal eaten slowly, with gratitude. You begin by moving your body, not as punishment, but as prayer. You begin by choosing silence over noise, by seeking presence over distraction, by letting go of what no longer serves and holding close what does. You do not have to do it all at once. You do not have to be perfect. But you do have to start. Because your cells are listening, and they are waiting, and they will not wait forever. The time to remember is now. The time to return is now. Not someday. Not when you are ready. Now. This is not the end of a book. It is the beginning of your awakening. And once you awaken, you cannot go back. You cannot unsee what you now know. You cannot unfeel the hum of your own potential, rising like a tide. And that is the gift. Because from this moment forward, you are no longer passenger. You are pilot. So rise, beloved. Walk barefoot. Breathe deeply. Speak your truth. Honor your rhythm. Feed your fire. And know that with every choice aligned, with every moment lived with presence, you are not just healing. You are becoming eternal. Not in body alone, but in spirit, in legacy, in the frequency you leave behind. The code was never lost. It was only quiet. And now it is awake. And so are you.